This beautiful overcast day. I want to welcome you all to the Board of County Commissioners workshop. I do want to remind you that the parking lot across the street has been sold to the church, and so it could get towed if you park in the church parking lot. So if you're back here across the street that way. So if you parked over in the church parking lot, you may want to move your car. So we're going to get started. We're going to right into it and go on with the raise update. And I'm going to let Barry take this one away.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. Well, I first want to really start out because, and I think it's more for the public, we've met individually with commissioners. We went over these agreements in great detail. We've had discussions throughout, but I think it's important for the public to understand from the county's perspective, and we've seen a lot at the city's level, the county's perspective, the team that really come together to partner with the city in negotiating this deal. So to my left is David Abrams. He's with Inner Circle Sports. He's done stadium developments all around the country and is really an expert in looking at stadium developments and helping us understand the way stadiums are developed, entertainment districts and other things like that that are complementary to the stadium. You know Don Kroll, Assistant County Attorney, who's been integral in this process, and Greg Lee with Baker and Hosteller, outside counsel. And again, they have the experience to form this county team that understands not only the way stadium development deals are there, but making sure that our interests are protected, it's reasonable, but more importantly, that we can actually make agreements that are enforceable and that we can get the outcome that we were all looking for. So they have partnered with the city's team, and I'll let the mayor and Brian kind of introduce that. But we've worked in conjunction now for a year and a half, 2 years, seems like 8, but really trying to make sure that we can actually deliver on the results. So we'll go through a slide deck and we'll get into the agreements, and that'll clearly outline for the public what we're talking about. And so I think I'll start with that. First, you've seen these pictures in the paper, you've seen them through city council and a lot, but this is what we're talking about. We currently have a stadium, an old stadium, and a parking lot. But this would be a $6.5 billion, probably the largest economic development project ever built in Pinellas County. And that's from the county's perspective what this is about, economic development. We want to keep the raise. You've grown up, you've got generations that have grown up with them, but this is far different than just a baseball stadium. This represents phase 1, 37%. And there's probably more to that, but I use this picture because 37% is in phase 1. They're incentivized to build this right with the stadium. That makes that downtown experience. That makes the destination that they're looking for. And it has a variety of uses, and the city will go over that when it's their point in the presentation, and Brian talks about that. But that is all occurring in phase 1. We talk about, what's going to occur in the future, but this is now. What we're really talking about is a 365-day venue. This is not just about 81 baseball games. It's about so much more than that. And the type of attraction, and we know that our beaches are a destination. This becomes another destination. It complements all the attractions that we have here in Pinellas County that makes it such a great place not only to visit, but to live, work, and play. A few of the pictures. This is the entrance. This is the plaza outside the stadium. And you can see it creates that destination inside the venue. But now we want to get into the agreements, the heart of what we're talking about here today. Again, as we've done these briefings, I'll partner with Don here, and we'll go through and we'll kind of tag team going through the substance of the agreements. And feel free to ask questions as we go along, and we'll try to answer them. I've invited the city to be up here. They're going to have a portion at the end that's going to go through the phases of the development and stuff. So if you want have questions for them, you can certainly do it at that time, but they're here at the table if you have questions that need to be answered right now. First phase of the first agreement is Stadium Development and Funding Agreement. And I'd like Don to cover the nuts and bolts of what this does, and then I'll talk about the financial commitments that are part of this.
Good morning, Commissioners. Don Kroll from your County Attorney's Office. Starting with the Stadium Development and Funding Agreement, as you may have guessed from the title, it relates to the development and funding of the new stadium. It starts with approval, and it runs through final completion of the new stadium and closeout of the payments under that agreement. As you can see, it runs through, it sets what the definitive elements of what needs to be built for the stadium facility is. And before I go on, I basically want to draw a boundary around what the stadium facility is. It's not just the stadium itself, but there are, as you see in this slide, there are 2 parking garages that are associated with the facility, as well as a marquee sign that you see currently from Interstate 275. So when I say the stadium project facility, stadium project parcel without any more specificity, I'm talking about that whole universe of development, so all that piece. The rest of it, including the stuff Barry talked about that isn't that in the phase 1, that's part of the redevelopment agreement between the Rays and the Hines. So I just kind of want to segment these things apart a little bit. But within the development and funding agreement, this is with a Rays entity called Stadco. It's a stadium company that will design and construct and is responsible for the Rays portion of funding the construction of the facility, the new stadium facility. It's between Stadco, the city, and the county. The county's primary funding is going to come from a tourist development tax bond resolution. So this development and funding agreement goes through, and deals with the mechanics of how that bond resolution proceeds are folded into the development and the funding, along with obviously the Rays funding and the city's funding. I'll talk a little bit more about what I will shorthand call the master bond resolution. That is a tourist development revenue bond resolution that we'll talk about here in a minute. But the development and funding agreement deals with how the flow of that money goes, and even the process that's required before we get to the sale of those bonds. Even though the board has authorized it, there are conditions that have to happen before we go forward with offering those out to the public. So some of those include 50% design. They have to have the 50% level of the design documents completed before we go out to sell those bonds. The Rays have to have spent at least $10 million on their own work so far moving this project forward. They have to have identified their sources of funding to us, including $100 million that MLB is bringing to the table on this. There's a principal owner equity commitment letter that will backfill anything that goes beyond the firm commitment letters that we have to have from lenders. So before we go out and sell our bonds, they have to show us everything on the table where this money is coming from the Rays side. After the sale of those bonds, there are additional conditions precedent before the money comes out of an escrow account that the county will hold. So those additional considerations are 75% of the design, and there's several other minor ones, but I'm going to talk about the high points here, as well as that $100 million from MLB has to be loan. It has to be hard, it has to be enforceable, it has to be done. The loan documents from those lenders that they'd given us, or substitutes, equivalents, have to be present and enforceable and inked. They have to be done and ready to be used. And to the extent that the owner equity is in play after those loan documents are identified, that money needs to come forward. So I want to point out that all of the county contribution to this project is capped. It's all contained in this development and funding agreement. The Rays are responsible for all cost overruns. So if the development costs more than what this budget that you see on the screen shows, that's the Rays' responsibility. Now, there's some minor exceptions. If the city asks for a change order to do something specific, that might be the city's. But if they're building what they're telling us they're going to build and that's it, anything more that they're not coming back to you to ask for more money. This is for the Rays to pay for.
And if I can add to that, we hear a lot, especially from the public, about some of the structures of the deal. When we started down this path, we really were about minimizing the risk to us and to our taxpayer, because the way this this agreement is structured, it puts it back to the Rays. We're going to own it. They're going to operate it. And we'll get into that when we get into the operating agreement, all kinds of provisions to make sure they keep that in a good state of repair to Major League Baseball standards. And that falls on them. They also have to pick up the insurance cost associated with the stadium that is currently borne by the city and paid for in part by a ticket tax. But that ticket tax doesn't even cover the cost. It's far lower than what would be needed, and the insurance cost is only increasing by a significant amount. But this, I say that now because the cost overruns were a major concern. But because they have to keep the stadium in a state of repair, the type and the way they build that, well, they have every incentive to build it to a good state of repair with the right that'll last because they have to maintain it. And so it works together. They're not going to build it on the sheet because we'd be sharing in the cost later. It's on them throughout the term of the agreement. And I think that in and of itself is a significant financial savings that you won't see in a lot of other agreements where there's shared ownership, maintenance, and other types of responsibilities. And so that was a major point in negotiation, and I think this protects our interest. And the cost you see is it, and it's fixed for that term of the agreement.
And I skipped one other of the conditions precedent to funding into what we call the Construction Funds Trust, which is that the Rays have to have spent at least $50 million on this project before we put our county money into the professionally managed, big financial institution managed Construction Funds Trust. Now, the Development Funding Agreement also provides for the general mechanisms on how that's paid out, which includes the private funders for the Rays will have a construction monitor. So these big financial institutions have their own investment that they're watching, and we will have insight into the reports on how that spending is going and how that kind of the work is progressing with that. The city also has a construction representative, and the county will have a construction reviewer. These are professionals that will have insight into monthly reports, meetings with the construction contractor, the construction manager at risk, as well as sharing with the construction monitor from the financiers and the invoices as they come in. So there'll be oversight into all of this. And I mentioned that Construction Funds Trust. I'll talk a little bit about that more when I talk about the master bond resolution and the process that's going to go along with that. In fact, actually, that's where I am now. So I'm going to skip. I may not be in order here.
Yeah, well, let's go through it because I got one other slide because, you know, we talk about what this generates, you know, and it's not just about, you know, I mean, we're always concerned. We're in budget season, so we're talking about our property tax, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later. But you can see it provides this is new growth. This is new growth that, you know, it's largely paid for out of our tourism tax that really will help all of our local jurisdictions, $146 billion over the 30-year agreement of property tax. And so you can see it's significant. When you look at the Stadium Funding and Development Agreement and what this will produce, it produces a lot while the construction of the ballpark, $443 million of total economic output, a lot of construction jobs at a significant wage. So that creates wealth within the community. It creates a lot of opportunity. But it's beyond that because even after the operation is built, then ongoing economic input, 15,000 jobs throughout the county. So all the people that feed into that, those are ongoing jobs that support our local economy. And so whether you're in Palm Harbor or in St. Pete or Pinellas Park, that has an economic benefit throughout the entire region and throughout Pinellas County. Annual room nights, it continues to support our tourism efforts. You've seen some of the economic impacts. Our own commissioner here was really excited at WWE Royal Rumble, right? You know, but this provides that missing middle for things that aren't going to go to Raymond James, or they're not going to go to Amalie or the convention center across the way. This creates an opportunity to host so many more types of events like this, and it's not just for a one-day event. This creates multiple opportunities. You have a 4,000 to 5,000 seat indoor concert center that's tied into this entertainment district that can work in conjunction with the stadium. and they have every reason, to use that. Greg was telling us that Concert Center, their business model for like the, I don't know, something live, I don't go to those concerts, but
Live Nation, yeah.
Live Nation, they need 140 to 150 events a year to make that model work. That's what they're projecting. That's what they're projecting to put in here. So you can see that creates that 365-day destination and creates a lot more economic impact on the region than just the stadium, itself. You've seen some of the other non-baseball events, Enchant, Gasparilla, gymnastics. I recall, and it does work in conjunction with our beaches. Just a few years ago, when my daughter, who's in grad school now, was in cheerleading, I didn't know Pinellas County. I knew Clearwater Beach. I knew the best beach, and so we would come here and we would stay, and then we'd go over to Orlando for her to do her thing, and us to get back to the beach and fly out. And that's, I think, what you see in a lot of it. We know our beaches, and under this model, we're not in any way. As you also know, we've set aside money for fully funding up our beach nourishment, and we have to protect that and take care of that. And that is our first priority, and we did that before we committed to this model, because we wanted to make sure we could do both. And we outlined that at the joint TDC Board of County Commissioners meeting. So let's move on to the operating agreement, because that's the economic impact. That's what happens when it gets built. But now we got to operate the stadium.
Back to that, a couple slides back where you had gross property tax TIF revenue. I'm assuming that you're bouncing from the stadium to the development. This is everything.
It's everything.
Over 30 years.
Correct.
And then, so we're going back now to just the stadium.
Now we're just going back to the stadium.
Just want to make sure that we're clear on what's generating what. The stadium is basically, we're taking risk out of the revenue cost equation, but there's not a lot of net revenue coming from that.
Actually, I have that, it's a great question, Commissioner. I have that on a future slide that talks about just the stadium, and you're exactly right. The stadium has a sales tax component. It does generate, but that's not the driver of the economic impact.
Just for clarification.
The driver is for the development surrounding the stadium. No question.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the operating agreement. I will come back to that master bond resolution, but the operating agreement, remember before, I kind of pulled apart what I called the stadium project parcels, which is the stadium, the 2 parking garages, and the marquee sign. The stadium operating agreement will apply to that. That will be an agreement between that stadium company, the county, and the city. There is currently, for Tropicana Field and the surrounding area, a use agreement that applies to all of the existing stuff. This new stadium operating agreement, and I'm sorry, that use agreement is only between the city and the Rays. The county will now be involved in the new operating agreement relating to the new stadium facility, okay? It's going to go, once we start with substantial completion of the facility, it's going to define how the facility is used in broad strokes on a day-to-day basis. It includes the financial responsibilities and operational responsibilities of the Rays, maintaining the facility, the MLB and contract standards. They have a lot of costs involved, including property insurance. They have to maintain. The costs of maintenance are entirely on the Rays. So there's also a fund, a CapEx fund, that will be funded up over time that will be in place and available to pay for some of those maintenance activities over time. We don't believe that it will necessarily fund the whole thing, but that doesn't define their role. Their role of maintenance isn't limited to that fund. Their role is to the standard, their requirement. Every 5 years, there will be an independent review by professionals, both engineers and professionals familiar with Major League and large sports facilities, so not just Major League, but presumably NFL or other major sports, NHL. But they will look at both the standard as well as the maintenance level from both structural as well as obsolescence kind of standpoints to look at how the maintenance and ongoing operations need to be managed and what needs to be maintained over a period of time, and set priorities for how those things go. The revenues from the stadium operation will go to the Rays. That was part of the business deal. And let me take a moment. I just want to recognize that this was a tremendous team effort, both the public entities with Barry and Rob and David and the mayor and others involved work out the business deal. But the lawyers, there was a lot of heavy lifting by the city's lawyers. I really want to thank Jackie Kovalarich and McCall Dyer. Boy, I just had a senior moment there, as well as the city's outside counsel, particularly Jim and Alan. They really pulled heavy. But I leaned on Greg a lot for watching for tripwires because he has the experience in this stuff. So I just really wanted to take a moment to say thank you on all that, and want to recognize how much a lot of other people worked on this. So just because I'm talking doesn't mean that I was. Yes, sir.
Don, back to the item on the operating agreement and the CapEx account.
CapEx, yes.
That is it'll be the stadium operation and the capital condition will be reviewed by a professional outside group that understands baseball operations, understands structural, architectural. We'll have a layout of items from that need to be taken care of or funded. Is there anything in the agreement that requires that the Rays fund up to what is being pointed out, or is it just pretty much, well, if we feel like it?
The requirement for the Rays is to maintain the maintenance standard, the operating standard that's laid out in the contract. This is an independent third entity's view on how that works. I think people could agree or disagree, but what it is an objective third party coming in and saying this is how this should be handled, and this is where we, as these professionals that we're bringing in, believe this should be done. Again, the contractual obligation is to maintain it to the operational standard and the maintenance standard, so no. I guess the short answer to your question is they don't have to then bring forward X number of dollars based on what that report says. But what it does is it informs the enforcement and the compliance with the operational and maintenance standards.
They have to adhere to the standard, and we spent a lot of time writing in that standard, Major League Baseball and like stadiums. Now, do we expect if they build a new stadium and it has 50-foot concourses rather than 30-foot they can't change that? But we tried to put in what those standards are. Do we care if they don't want to do a scoreboard and this year, but they want to do it 2 years from now? Probably not. But if they've got concrete work or electrical or plumbing or things that are go to keeping the stadium in good state of repair, then yes. What we tried to get to was a standard that we can enforce, and so it's clear in the agreement what they have to do. How they fund that, whether they put a ticket tax on or whether they pay cash or then that's up to them, but the obligation still remains.
Yeah, well, to me, that professional review by outside folks that understand baseball and understand capital requirements of stadiums is critical to standard, to talking about them maintaining a standard.
Yes.
So so there's not a direct correlation between having to do this to do that, but they still have to keep the standard, which again is a little gray. And yes. I love black and white on this stuff, but it's a little bit gray to me. But anyway, thank you for the.
We've heard from the public, about why don't you put a ticket tax on, or why didn't you share it in revenue? Well, we've seen stadium after stadium, city, county, across the country have similar deals. And they end up doing side deals with with revenue sharing with company, and it's a little bit of a game. What we said is, let's fix this. Instead of putting a ticket tax on that goes into a fund that we have to agree on the maintenance, let's just put the maintenance on the team. They own it, they operate it, they run it, and we have a standard that we can enforce. And so we felt, and I still feel, that was a much more better deal. Brian brought up the other day, just the cost of, over the next 30 years, of the insurance on the stadiums over $270 million. You know, that's a significant piece. And so it's things like that that, you know, we felt this structure is easier to enforce, and it's cleaner and it's defined.
Commissioner Scott.
I'm sorry. Commissioner, this is also going to generate every 5 years a property condition assessment. And what that's going to do is that's going to prioritize things like structural issues that need to be addressed. And it's going to identify something like a leak, something like a structural issue. And to have that kind of data point and to have that on a regular interval is unusual and very beneficial, I think, for for the county and for the city. And if they have to maintain the standard, you know, these things aren't going to be able to be ignored. And I just think that this is a really probably a very responsible way to manage the integrity of the structure of the building.
So, but to your point, that my understanding was it was also folks that understand what's going on in Major League Baseball.
Absolutely.
So it's not just structural.
Not just an engineer.
It's not just fixing leaks. Mm-hmm. It's understanding the fan experience at a stadium and what's going. And I'm not saying the latest and greatest that happens 15 years down the road, but it talks about, hopefully, they'll be addressing the things that stadiums are doing that they should be doing to continue to look at the fan experience. Now, that's what I understood it. It was Major League Baseball and what goes on in the Major League Baseball stadiums, but also to the point that you brought up with structural.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Commissioner Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So that, I think that's great that every 5 years that has to be done. That is on the responsibility of the Rays to contract and pay for that study and that report? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then that becomes a public document, so it gets shared with us and?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah. Essentially, it's not the city or the county said so, this third party said so. You know, that was kind of the approach. So also after 5 years after substantial completion, the Rays will be responsible to make a license payment to the county. It will be $1 million per year for 25 years.
And we have some other things in there. Since there's got to be a visible place, we're going to market our brand through our Convention and Visitors Bureau, through Clearwater St. Pete. And so they'll provide space for that to where, again, we continue to tie in our destination.
And took one thing's off my list. There's also 5,000 tickets that are going to go to low-income families every year through local charitable contributions. And the county will have a county suite within the building for using for promotional issues. Next, and kind of a big key to making all of this work, is the team non-relocation agreement. Now, before I had talked about the stadium company, Stadco. This agreement is with a separate company that actually owns the team franchise. Now, Stadco and Teamco are both wholly owned companies by, Stadco and Teamco are owned by a company we've identified as called Holdco. Basically, the holding company, the overarching company, holds both of those entities' wholly owned subsidiaries. The team has agreed will sign through the non-relocation agreement. They guarantee to play all of their home games for the next 30 years in the new stadium after the substantial completion of the new stadium. There's some minor exceptions for certain special MLB events like Field of Dreams or international play. They can do up to 6 of those in any 1 year, or up to 9 in any 3 years. Labor disputes where MLB, everybody's locked out, or league-wide, that's an exception where those games wouldn't be played. There's also a bubble concept. Prior to 2020, I don't think anybody would have ever thought of the potential for an entire sports league to go play all of their games in one city. But we all learned something new, and in the drafting, that is one of the exceptions. So if another major health problem comes down and every game has to be played in Toronto league-wide, well, that's one of those exceptions. And then finally, if something were to happen to the stadium, now frankly, given the engineering going into this, I don't foresee this, but the best example I can think of is the Superdome in Houston when the roof comes off. Now that's not gonna happen here, but if it did, you would have the ability, they would have the ability to play elsewhere while the thing was being fixed. you know, more likely it's something else happens, the power's out for a week for something getting knocked down or something like that. But there are time frames within which they would be able to play somewhere else. Now, they have to look first in Hillsborough and Pinellas, and then Hillsborough County before they looked elsewhere, and then they need to come back as soon as it's practicable, essentially.
Second, Commissioner Latvala.
So, and we talked about this during our meeting, but in the non-relocation agreement, there wasn't a specific penalty if they violated that. Can you explain why that's the case?
Yes, sir. And in fact, it's a great segue. That was the next words out of my mouth. One of the things we focused on was an equitable remedy that will be allowed under this. It's called specific performance. Now, the reason we don't talk about damages is, frankly, we don't think paying money to the city or county is adequate to fix the problems that would be caused by them leaving. And there's some language to that effect in the document. If they were to breach the non-relocation provisions, we would go in. There's two ways you can go into court. One is at law, which says they've hurt me, I want money. And the other is through equity, which says I want you to give some kind of special relief, an injunction, or in this case, specific performance to say, no, you have to stay here and play. If you can get money and that resolves your issue, you're not entitled to do those other kinds of remedies. So we specifically wanted to make sure that we were best set up to move towards that position of having a judge say, no, you're not allowed to leave. You have to stay here and play. So does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. The other question I have along that topic is Stadco is a Delaware company. Mm-hmm. The other companies that they have are registered in Florida. Does that in any way make it? I'm no lawyer, but I understand that Delaware has a lot more business-friendly environment than, say, Florida does and other states. Does that in any way prohibit us from being able to go to litigation if we need to?
The short answer is no, but I'm going to turn it over to Greg to talk a little bit about why they might do that. And frankly, we're speculating to some degree, and we could ask the Rays. I don't know why they decided to structure that. I'm assuming it's based on some kind of specific legal advice that fits into their business model. But
Yes, thank you, Don. Commissioner, it's not uncommon for there to be entities registered in Delaware. Not surprised to see both Florida and Delaware. Even though it is a Delaware entity, it has to register in the state of Florida. So, there are ties with that entity to Florida. We're not going to have to go chase them down in Delaware if we get into litigation. This is Stadco. This is the entity that's going to own the stadium. There's going to be financing and other things like that affiliated with that particular entity that are unique. There may be good reasons why they prefer to have the Delaware legal structure, to deal with the financing and the consistency of that. It's also just a preference for a lot of different, business entity situations. I don't think there's any additional risk at all to the county with the way that this is being structured.
Okay, thank you.
And then one thing that I'd skipped over, but it's important. Again, this is 30 years they're agreeing to stay and play within the new stadium facility. They can't discuss with other entities leaving after the term until the last 5 years. So even after, they're locked down for a substantial period of time here to continue to play ball here.
Commissioner Eggers.
So that was going to be my question. So in good faith, they have to perform. They can't be contacting. They can't be courting. They can't be doing anything for the first 25 years.
Yes, sir.
Of the agreement.
That's correct.
In the last 5 years of the agreement, that's open.
Yes, sir.
To discussion with the city at that time or whatever.
Yes, sir.
It's open. They still have to stay for 30 years.
They still have
No,
to
no,
stay
that's
for
it.
30
Yeah,
years,
yeah,
but
I get that.
there's a planning window is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's holding. It's called holding cities hostage, and that's the thing that bothers me completely. But thank you, appreciate it.
Yes, sir. The next document in the package is a team guarantee. As I said before, there's the stadium company Stadco and Teamco that holds the baseball franchise. What this document does is says the Teamco is going to guarantee the performance of Stadco and the contractual obligations to the city and the county, including paying for what it needs to pay for to keep all of those requirements up to snuff. That's pretty much all I got on that. Unless there's a question, it's fairly straightforward. Now, there are some other stadium-related documents. I term these kind of property documents. And to put some context around this, let me talk about where we are now. The city transferred the 86 acres out there to the county back in 2002 for $1 with a contract that said that under certain circumstances, the county would transfer the property back to the city. There also is a lease back. They sold it to us, we leased it back to them, and then they have entered into the use agreement with the Rays. Under this new dynamic of this project and the related redevelopment agreement, there's essentially two chunks of property. They're being divided apart. So there's the new stadium project property, which we'll get to in a second, and then there is the rest of the redevelopment property. So everything that isn't the new stadium parcel that the county owns out in that 86 acres. So this First Amendment to the agreement for sale pulls out the new stadium property to be used in, you'll see in a minute, a new stadium parcel sale agreement. And it essentially tracks the same thing. The major function of this is it just pulls them into two groups of properties. And then there are leasebacks that correspond also to these. Now, why is that? Well, there's two paths that these properties, if everything goes as everyone hopes it will take. Everything in this amendment to the agreement for sale and the amendment to the leaseback will ultimately be taken down and used for the redevelopment properties, and ultimately there will be no need for this to continue. At some point in time, the hope is all that just goes away. The new stadium parcel will continue to be owned by the county. The new stadium, all the improvements, the county will continue to own all of that and is leased back to the city and then is licensed to the Rays through the new stadium operating agreement. So those are just, that's the high level on that. All of the protections to the county remain from the original agreements through these. So there's not a lot of substantive change there. It's really a structural change. With that, well, okay, we're going to move on. Let me say this. There are two sets of approvals you will be asked to make on Tuesday. The first deal with the development and funding agreement, the operating agreement, the non-relocation agreement, the team guarantee, the master bond resolution or the tourist development tax revenue bond resolution, which it's not called the master bond resolution. That's a shorthand I use, so apologize for that. And then the four property documents I just mentioned. The new First Amendment to the sale agreement, the First Amendment to the leaseback and management, the new stadium parcel sale agreement, and the new stadium leaseback and management agreement. In the the 6 o'clock portion of the agenda is the public hearing agenda, which deals with changes relating to the community redevelopment area, the in-town redevelopment area out there. The reason that's on the public hearing agenda is there's an ordinance that needs to be passed to deal with the trust fund involving the community redevelopment area. And I'm looking at Jewel to correct me if I say something wrong here. She's been more hands-on with this than I, but there's also a resolution that changes the plan relating to the community redevelopment area. Now, they've just been put together in the public hearing agenda because they're all interrelated. By the way, all of these documents are interrelated, and they're all contingent upon all of them being adopted by you. So moving on, there's also an interlocal agreement with the city that governs the exercise of the plan within the community redevelopment area that has an amendment in there. So that's what's referred to on your screen as that second amended and restated interlocal agreement. And it really has two primary functions in there. One is it allows the extension of the CRA,
City only.
the city portion, the city increment only of the community redevelopment area from 2032 out to, I believe it's April 7th, 2042. So it's only the city increment will be extended out. The county had previously committed a set amount of money to the CRA, and none of that changes, but it does allow for money to be spent on this stadium project and be used for funding and paying back even to the raise. Once the stadium is complete, costs of financing for that.
So to summarize this, the city is asked to be able to extend their portion, city-only portion of the CRA out to 2042. The county ends in 2030, all projects paid out in 2032 by then, all right? So at the extent. We are not extending. That was already previously agreed to back in 2000. I think the last time it was amended in 2015 or 16. That doesn't change. So you had already previously committed to $108 million. That does not change, and it does not extend the county's portion of the CRA. Provides the flexibility as talked about, but that structure doesn't change. It's really about increasing the the time period for the city's portion, and that's how it's broken down in terms of the cost. And that's the reason we need to amend the plan.
Commissioner Eggers.
Okay, so just for clarification, CRA funding, TIF funds that are to be left are typically used for infrastructure enhancements.
Correct.
I heard you say that they were potentially used to build the stadium?
They're be used for the redevelopment of within the CRA, yes.
You said rebuild the stadium. They're not being, those funds are not being used to construct the stadium.
They can't, under the extended definition, they can go for the project, okay?
Yes.
But not to, only if there are remaining funds within the CRA and they do not exceed the cap of the $108 million.
Well, I thought that our cap was 312.5 and the city's was 280.
No, the previous CRA capped it at 108. That was approved.
No,
in
I'm talking about the
2015.
cost of the stadium, that we're paying for the stadium. We are capped at the $600 million level.
Under that portion of the agreement, you already had committed funding for redevelopment of the site back in 2015 or 16, whenever that was amended. Okay, so that's where that CRA is in place. That ends in 2030 with projects paid out by 2032, and it had a $108 million cap. This doesn't extend that, but it adds the flexibility to where any remaining funds can go towards a project. That doesn't change except for that. The bond issue that we're talking about, that's the $312 million, and it could be a portion of bond we could pay down. That's the TDC funds
I understand.
that we're talking about.
I get it. I just don't. I'm not comfortable using our what is typically used for infrastructure, number one, to be used for stadium construction. That's be taken care of through the bonding. And I'm not trying to oversimplify, but it can be that simple. And I'm not interested at all in leftover money being used to pay off, teams' debt, for crying out loud. That doesn't make any sense. It at least philosophically doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know how much money will be left over from our part we're talking about. So that doesn't interest me. And I just want to make sure I'm clear where this TIF money can go, which is typically used for infrastructure. I always worry about this project and what infrastructure other areas are being shortchanged because of this. But nonetheless, going for infrastructure on this project is fine with me. I'm concerned about this stadium piece. I'm also concerned about leftover money going to paying off the debt for the team. That just doesn't make any sense conceptually to me. So.
Okay. One of the other questions, that we received.
Barry, before you go on, Commissioner Scott has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So when the county's portion of the CRA sunsets, so then how much money is going to come back to the county each year? Is about $8 million?
So when the TIF expires, when the CRA expires, all that property is going to come onto the county's property tax books. That's going to generate about an additional $8 million to the county annually.
Okay.
After 2032, or 2030, 2032. I'd have to ask that question.
And then I got a question.
2032? Okay.
2030. Okay. A question for Don. So we have a non-relocation agreement. If, let's say, in 2-3 years, whatever, the team gets sold, are we absolutely confident that these documents are binding on new owners?
Yes, that is one of the things that we've brought Baker Hostetler on, and the city had outside counsel very experienced in these kinds of deals, and David Abrams. This is the mechanisms we've looked at and the transfer provisions we've included into these documents all make very clear that any of these, first of all, they have to be MLB qualified people to take over a sale like that, and all of the documents go with the team. So they have to stay, they have to continue to play here at the new stadium.
We're good, we're confident, 100%.
100%, but yeah.
I'm looking to legal counsel. I will tell you, from the very beginning, we went into this to say that this has to be enforceable. When we were, planning that we're going to have this day right here, where you're going to ask us that exact question. And our legal team, both the county and the city, worked in great detail to ensure, to the extent feasibly possible, that these are enforceable agreements. It didn't matter who owns the team. It was never about the owner of the team. It was about making sure baseball is played here for the next 30 years, and that the area development is tied together. And and I think that for Greg and for David, they do a lot of these. And so what incentivizes the team, right? Where do they improve their bottom line? And it's not just with the approval of these agreements, but it's the development that goes into that. And I'd like for them to speak to that, because to your point, what happens tomorrow?
Right. I mean, that's my biggest concern is in 5 years we've got new owners and they go, well, I don't want to do this. I don't like this. And then suddenly we're wrapped into a big court battle and spending all kinds of legal money. And
New owners almost without variation step into the shoes of the prior owner. So they are those agreements, those principal project documents that Don was speaking about are transferred or assigned to the new owner, and so they step into all of those obligations without variation to that.
And I can even speak to that a little bit too, David and Commissioner. Yeah, the obligations are going to run with the team. And so a new owner is either going to purchase the entity that owns the team or purchase the assets of the entity. And in either scenario, we've drafted these transfer provisions to cover that. This is something we spent a tremendous amount of time talking to the team about, and we also vetted this with the league. And so we feel very confident in the way that this is structured, that this would be something that would follow successive owners, and these obligations would continue on through the life of the agreement structure.
Commissioner Lettville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm talking just about the stadium piece, because I know that there may be some county money that goes towards part of the development, i.e. affordable housing subsidies. But just looking at the stadium part, and dovetailing on what Commissioner Eggers was talking about. So is it possible that there will be county funds other than the TDC funds that are going to be contributed to this project?
There was always county funds contributing to the redevelopment of the 86 acres.
Right.
And that was outlined within the CRA. This expands that definition so long as they don't exceed that cap. Okay, so the 108 million was previously committed to. That doesn't change, but the use of the funds is expanded to where if there's a residual, that could go back to that project. But again, it still within that same boundary, that same commitment to the funds being spent within that CRA. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay, so one of the other questions we had is, what does this generate? Why does somebody that is not a Rays fan in Palm Harbor or someone care? Well, You know, when we were looking at our budgets this year, you saw that our county, the departments that report to you, they cut their budget. I mean, they held the line on spending, they cut their budget. But yet we have a lot of costs that are mandated that we simply can't control. The sheriff's budget is going up under the recommendation by $26 million. So how do you pay for that? You pay for that either through keeping the property tax rate the same, and which, you know, increases property tax, or through new growth. Well, you know, the new growth is how we're paying for that, and you're able, under the recommendation, to do a property tax rollback. And that rollback comes because of the new growth. As you can see, the gross tax revenue coming back to, you know, Pinellas County, and to Commissioner Zegger's question about ballpark sales and tourism tax, that's the portion of that, but it's over $1 billion over this, you know, this time period. 800 million of new, you know, growth. So it's a significant economic development project, and really drives to the heart of why everybody benefits. They benefit by creating the new growth, the new property taxes, to where, as you manage your budgets, you can continue to try to keep our property taxes low.
Commissioner Eggers.
Yes, so these two slides are the segue into
Correct.
the development piece that we're going to
Correct.
talk about, because again, this is not the stadium.
I understand.
Okay, you know, it's just.
I am transitioning.
Okay,
The next
all right.
slide is, I'm going to turn it over to the city. But they don't go hand, they are linked. And so our portion is the stadium, and you're absolutely correct. But the question I've heard repeatedly, even from commissioners, is why does somebody else care? And so I think it's important for people to understand that there's benefit by creating that new growth that enables you to be able to make the decisions that you're making. And that is how it helps everyone.
And this is based on target
This
information.
is based, I believe this is based on target. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Justice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know why we do the 30 years, because that's the length of the bond.
Right.
Is this factoring in the fact that this property is not going to be developed all in the first year, that it's
Yes.
phased in?
Yes.
It accounts for that we're getting no property tax years 2 through 5, but we are?
It is
That is
based
correct,
upon the
Commissioner.
phases of the development, or under the target development proceeds. And this was done by a third-party consultant.
Okay. Yeah, because that's, you know, this is the part we all like about the project, you know, the return on it. But I just wanted to make sure that we were actually looking at apples to apples 30 years on that. And then I do share Commissioner Eggers' concern about the CRA TIF part of the program, which I think we need to discuss a little bit more at some point.
Okay, Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So these numbers here, the 415 million, that's not those aren't the Victus numbers, that's the HRNA numbers, aren't they?
It is.
They're the Victus numbers?
No, this is the HRNA.
HRNA.
Okay.
So you have
the-
two different, you do have two economic impact analysis.
Right.
You know, separated out, and again, it's an economic impact analysis. So, but yeah, this is the HRNA, and you have both of them.
I do. I mean, so this is based on the full development of the property, not the minimum required development of the
Correct.
property.
Yes.
So this is kind of the best case scenario we're looking at here. The Victus numbers had property tax at about 320 million.
Yeah.
You know, which is still significant, but this is, just wanted to point that out. This is the most rosy picture. Could potentially be better than that, but it could, I prefer to look at things a little bit more conservatively.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, we've all seen economic impact analysis. You know, it's one person's version of, you know, what happens in the future. You know, you're with the city, you know, putting in infrastructure, they're incentivized to build quicker, you know, because it's driving their unit costs down, you know, but they got to have a market for the product, right? And so, you know, what actually occurs, you know, I think it's that the city's going to kind of cover that, but it's a plan, you know, and it's over a long period of time. I think what you can be assured to is, you know, phase one, you know. And,
Right. Yeah, I've just been really focusing in on these numbers, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vice Chair
With that,
Scott,
why don't we move to the next?
Just a sec, we're not ready yet.
sorry.
Commissioner Eggers, do you have follow-up?
Okay, so I'm assuming, I know we have the data, and I always want to come back and see it, like sitting next to this data, on the minimum development requirements as opposed to the, the target, the minimum versus the target, and what that, even using these numbers, I'd like to see that, that comparison, just so I have a sense of that
Commissioner,
level of success.
if I may, because our city council asked that very same question. So we did ask
Brian,
HRNA
introduce
to...
yourself. Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Brian Caper, Director of Economic and Workforce Development for the City of St. Petersburg. Our city council asked a similar question. These numbers that you see in front of you are based on the targeted development plan, but city council asked what would occur if it was the minimum development only. And based on the city's property taxes, so you see 475 million projected there. If only the minimum development was constructed and nothing more, they project, HRNA, again, projects $340 million in new property taxes over that same 30-year cumulative period. So you can assume a similar reduction for the county's property taxes. 340, that is correct.
Commissioner, are you done?
I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize for being late, so if these questions were already asked and answered, just stop me and we can move on. For the, I think one of the great concerns has been the fact that we've stated that the TDT dollars are the funds that the county is contributing. However, the in-town redevelopment CRA still has life in it, if you will. And I understand that we all expressed in workshops that we're not willing to extend that CRA so that those revenues will be coming back to the county after the life of the CRA. One of the things I said when we talked about this before was just making sure that whatever projects the city, and this is no pun on the city, but whatever projects the city has that have already been designated for that CRA, that those projects continue and that it's not, or we're going to hold off on these projects and then use that money to purposefully move over to the construction of the stadium project. That's one of the concerns that I've had from the community, and that's one of the concerns that I shared, I know, when we've had our general discussions, just making sure that whatever funds that are there, that's what's utilized, because it sits within that CRA currently, and it is an economic development project, but that no projects that are currently targeted for the in-town redevelopment be delayed and those funds then diverted to the stadium project.
There's nothing in the agreement. I mean, the cities manage those funds and those projects, and it's on them to be able to continue to manage those. I understand your concern. I've shared that with the city.
I'm just sharing it publicly so that,
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have to paddle back and try to answer those questions. I understand what Commissioner Latvala was saying, because, of course, I've also received calls about the 1,200 affordable units, and while I know that's not ours, but there's always the potential for that particular piece for them to come back and request penny money, which that's way down the line. But that has just been some questions, comments, and concerns from residents, of which that's what the dollars are there for. So I want to just say publicly that penny money, because I got a call about this on the way here, penny money has nothing to do with what we're doing here today in the conversation regarding the stadium.
That's correct.
So I want to say that publicly, because that was one of the questions that I received, and I've said that over and over again, but it's kind of difficult for people to try to separate the two projects. Even though we have no jurisdiction over the additional 63 acres, there's still questions because it's separate but one project.
Okay, any further questions or discussion or comments? All right, it looks like we can move forward, and
At this point, I'll turn it over to the city and to the mayor to cover really the historic gas plant redevelopment plan.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator, Madam Chair, members of the commission, to Administrator Burton, Attorney White, Attorney Crowell, good to see you again. We are really honored to be with you this morning. A lot of what I wanted to speak to has already been covered, but I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to update you on a project that we've been working on for years. I'm joined by our City Administrator, Rob Gertis. Just wave so we know who you are. I'm sure the folks at home know who you are, Rob. Our City Development Administrator, James Corbett. our Economic Development Director, Brian Caper, who will be giving you the presentation, and a face that y'all are familiar with, my Chief of Staff, Doyle Walsh, is here today as well, and our Hines Rays partners. I'll be brief. We've talked many times over what is almost now 3 years on county participation in this project, starting with then Chair Justice, and then Chair Long, and now Chair Peters. We've enjoyed briefing each of you as we've progressed towards the goal of retaining our only hometown MLB team in Pinellas County. And we would not be here without the partnership of the county, without the participation of Barry, Don, and their team, and without the commissioner's support to talk about a partnership going forward. The city certainly could not do this by ourselves. So I want to thank you for helping us to work towards this goal, and I think the day has finally arrived where we can present this to you. It's come up a couple of times, but this is a combined project. The multi-use stadium is key to the development of that other 60 acres that's been vacant now for some 40 years. And the development will create jobs, housing, hotel and meeting space, economic growth and tourism, and honor the promises that were made to the gas plant community that I grew up in, and Commissioner Flowers as well, in terms of economic inclusion. And there's so many benefits to this project that I'm very grateful that our city council has approved it. And we know that the county commission's vote is crucial, and I also know the protocol of not coming to the county last and making an ask. And we're so thankful that the county's been involved from day one on this project. You're asking some very good questions, and we look forward to having that discussion. But for now, I just want to thank you for the partnership to get to this point, and I want to turn it over to Brian Caper to give the presentation. Brian?
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor, for the introduction. Madam Chair, members of the County Commission, it is a privilege to join you this morning to discuss such a transformative project for our community. Over the next several slides, I will cover key highlights of the historic gas plant redevelopment beyond the stadium site, including plans for the development, economic investment and benefits, and the project timeline. The redevelopment agreement between Hines, the Tampa Bay Rays, and the City of St. Petersburg contains both a target development plan as well as minimum development requirements and 3 interim minimum development milestones, which we will discuss shortly. Contingent on market conditions, we expect the overall development to align with the target development plan that you see in front of you. I won't go through all of these uses, but I do want to highlight a few key points, including the 1,250 units of affordable and workforce housing, of which at least 600 must be located on the site, and the remaining 650 will be created throughout the rest of St. Petersburg. 750 keys for hotel, 1.4 million gross square feet of Class A office, medical, and medical office, which is critically important, especially in our downtown area where we have currently a vacancy rate under 5%. Related to office space, and we have not had an office space building constructed in the last 25 years, although we are pleased to say that there is one currently under construction now. 750,000 gross square feet of retail, 50,000 gross square feet of civic and museum space. That is the new Woodson African American Museum of Florida on the site. 90,000 gross square feet of conference, ballroom, and meeting space. I apologize for the typo on the screen. It is 2,500 gross square feet for childcare facilities, although certainly if the demand is there, we expect that number to be closer to 25,000, and 14 acres of open space. This redevelopment will occur over the next 30 years and take place across 4 phases. So here you can see the overall site plan for the project, which is shaded in by phase. Phase A in purple will occur first, along with the construction of the new stadium and the related parking facilities. Phase B in orange will occur next, followed by Phase C in green, and finally, the blue Phase D. Next, we will take a look at each phase in greater detail. With the county's approval of the stadium-related agreements, construction of Phase A is anticipated to begin in 2025. To ensure a vibrant game day experience, the first phase must encompass a wide range of uses and significant density. Phase A is primarily located east of Booker Creek on what is now parking lots 6, 7, 8, and 9, as well as a few key parcels west of the creek. You can see in the top right the preliminary program for this, but I would like to go a step further and just highlight some of these parcels so you can understand the full extent of Phase A. Parcel H that you see, the large one right in the middle, is the new stadium. Parcels A, which is in the northwest corner, as well as V, south of the stadium, are parking garages that will support the stadium. Parcel F1 that you see right along Booker Creek, just west of the creek, is the new Woodson African American Museum of Florida. Parcel C will be hotel with conference space, as well as Class A office space and home to the Rays front office. Parcel U, on the bottom right, will also be office and medical office. Parcel I, just west of the plaza, will be the retail village, which will support the stadium plaza and create a 365-day experience. Parcel K, immediately south of the retail village, is the new 4,000 to 6,000 seat indoor music venue, which further complements the stadium, retail, and plaza space. The remaining parcels that you see in Phase A are multifamily and represent approximately 1,500 residential units. This development will occur on approximately 13.8 acres of land.
Excuse me, real quick.
Yes, Commissioner.
On the, so this Phase A numbers that you're showing there, those units and the square footage and everything else, it's going to be starting in 2025.
That is correct.
Is that all target and minimum? Are those numbers actually going to happen, or is that the target again versus? I'm trying to get, you're bouncing between Phase 1, Phase A, target, and I want to make sure I'm clear on how that's going to look on opening day.
The numbers that you see are based on the target development standards.
So indeed, those things may not occur in Phase A.
This would be a best case scenario based on market conditions, but you will still see this mix of uses. It may be slightly reduced based on the minimum development standards, but the mix remains the same.
Is there a minimum that you can see in this Phase A, or is that subject to the development patterns that
we'll cover the minimum development targets in just a moment, but the first minimum development milestone will occur on December 31st of 2030, and that stipulates that there must be 400,000 square feet of development, vertical development, so excluding the stadium and the parking garages, substantially complete by that point in time. However, we do not define at that point the specific uses.
So it could be any mix of that right there.
That is correct.
400,000 square feet.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Justice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The parking garages, are they standalone garages? Or are they part of another building?
They are currently standalone garages. However, long-term plans do call for uses to be built above them, including residential and office space.
But initially,
they will be standalone garages servicing the new stadium.
okay.
The next phase is approximately 5.48 acres and is bounded by 16th Street on the west, 1st Avenue South to the north, Booker Creek to the east, and the to-be-created 3rd Avenue South to the south. This phase will include 900 residential units, 200,000 square feet of Class A office and medical office, and 100,000 square feet of retail space. Moving south to Phase C is approximately 9.54 acres and is primarily located where the current Tropicana Field Stadium sits today. This phase will include 2,000 residential units, 400,000 square feet of office, and 250,000 square feet of retail space. Finally, Phase D will be located west of 16th Street on 7.16 acres and include 1,000 residential units, 250 hotel keys, 200,000 square feet of Class A office and medical office, 100,000 square feet of retail, and 30,000 square feet of conference, ballroom, and meeting space. As Commissioner Eggers mentioned, it is important to note that these development figures are based on the targeted development plan, which is the most likely mix of development uses contingent on market conditions.
These phases, are they interchangeable? In other words, what's included in each phase has a distribution of office, retail, et cetera. Can they be moved around? Depending on what the developer sees as the more attractive projects and property, whatever it might be.
Yes, Commissioner. They may shift uses around between the phases, provided that the minimum standards are ultimately met on those 3 interim minimum development check-ins.
In total?
That is correct.
Not per phase?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Next, we will discuss the minimum development requirements, and while we anticipate that the overall development will align more closely with the target development plan, it was vital to Mayor Welch, our City Council, and our community to ensure that certain development minimums were met regardless of market conditions. The minimum development requirements include 3,800 market rate residential units, 1,250 units of affordable and workforce housing, which remains the same between the target and the minimum development requirements, 1 million square feet of commercial, office, and retail use, with at least 500,000 square feet of that being Class A office, medical office space, and 50,000 square feet for civic museum space. 400 hotel keys, 50,000 square feet of conference, ballroom, and meeting space, at least 1 child care facility of 2,500 square feet, 1 fresh food and produce retailer at least 10,000 square feet, and 12 acres of open space. 3 minimum development milestones are included to ensure continued development on the site and prevent any one use from being either front or backloaded in the project. As previously mentioned, the first milestone requires substantially completing at least 400,000 square feet of vertical development by December 31st, 2030. The second milestone occurs by December 31st, 2035, and generally consists of 1/3 of the overall minimum development standards, including the full 2,500 square foot child care facility. The third milestone will occur on December 31st, 2045, and includes the next third of the overall minimum development standards, plus the 10,000 square foot fresh food and produce retailer. And finally, the remaining third of the minimum development requirements must occur by the end of the redevelopment agreement.
Quick question.
Yes, Commissioner.
What does substantially completed mean?
A certificate of occupancy.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you. Is there any particular reason why any of the affordable workforce housing units that are scheduled to be done off-site can't be done sooner?
Absolutely not, Commissioner, and it would certainly be our intent that they can be delivered as soon as the market permits.
That's 11 years, that's a long time, and by that time, we all know what numbers are, we'll continue to look at the numbers. I mean, that's not the doing of anyone here, but it would be really nice if that date could be pushed up and moved forward, because off-site has no bearing on what happens for construction and development on-site as it relates to being able to move things around.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here you can see a rendering of Phase A, including the stadium to your left, retail, hotel, and office space to your right. Now I'd like to discuss the project investment and benefits. You've seen this chart a lot this morning, and this will be the last time you see it, but I do think it is very important to emphasize, because this is, as Mayor Welch and Administrator Burton mentioned, such a significant economic driver. Looking at just the vertical development, the City of St. Petersburg will contribute $130 million to support the necessary infrastructure for this project. Any infrastructure costs that exceed the $130 million are the full responsibility of Hines and the Rays. Recent estimates from the city's Engineering and Capital Improvements Department place the total infrastructure costs closer to $180 to $200 million. Additionally, the city will construct 1 lift station at the southern end of the site near Booker Creek to support the development, which is estimated to be approximately $12 million. Hines and the Rays are expected to invest nearly $5.4 billion in the vertical development on the site. According to the study by HR&A, over the first 30 years of the project, it will generate $415 million in new gross property taxes for Pinellas County, $200 million for local schools, $60 million for JWB, and $55 million for PSTA. When you add in the city, the state, and the Southwest Florida Water Management District, the project is projected to generate $1.46 billion in new property tax revenues. While these revenues are significant, the project only maximizes the gross property tax revenues once it is fully complete. As a result, the project is expected to generate significantly higher tax revenues over the following 30 years. One of the biggest economic impacts of the historic gas plant redevelopment will be felt through job creation. The project is expected to generate just shy of 33,000 construction-related jobs. It is important to note that while construction jobs are generally viewed as temporary, this is a 30-year project and has the ability to provide significant career opportunities for our residents, as well as opportunities for future residents who have not even been born. Additionally, the project will generate 11,000 ongoing full and part-time jobs through stadium operations, new office space development, entertainment, retail, hospitality, cultural, and medical uses. In total, the project is expected to generate 43,900 jobs. Finally, we will discuss the project's anticipated timeline for design, construction, and operation. Here you will see a high-level overview of the project timeline. Pending your approval of the stadium agreements, we will have the bond validation and sale, as well as begin permitting for the redevelopment and the stadium projects later this year. In 2025, Phase A infrastructure will begin, including roadways and landscaping. Construction will begin on the stadium, as well as the first parking garage, which will be located on 4th Avenue South. In 2027, the lift station will be complete, and the demolition of the current Tropicana Field Stadium will begin. The new stadium will be ready for opening day 2028. Phase B vertical construction will begin, pending the approval of a supplemental bond resolution to fund the infrastructure, and construction for 100 senior affordable housing units must commence. By the end of 2030, a minimum of 300 affordable and workforce housing units must be completed, and the first minimum development milestone, those 400,000 gross square feet of vertical development, must be substantially completed. Phase C construction begins in 2032 with the approval of the Phase C supplemental bond resolution. In 2035, we will begin Phase D construction, and in December of that year, we'll have the second minimum development milestone. By the end of 2036, 300 more affordable and workforce housing units must be delivered. In 2045, the third and final minimum development milestone will take place. And finally, by the end of 2047, 350 additional affordable and workforce housing units must be delivered. To borrow the closing comments from our City Development Administrator, James Corbett, to City Council last week, this is a very ambitious timeline, but it is achievable if the many partners involved come together with the vision, thoughtfulness, and determination needed to make the historic gas plant district a model for the nation. We have the opportunity to transform St. Petersburg, Pinellas County, and the Tampa Bay region for generations to come. I appreciate your time and attention this morning, and our city team is ready to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Latvala.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Assuming this gets approved Tuesday, can the Rays sell the portion of their development deal on Wednesday next week?
The development, are you talking about the redevelopment for the city piece of that?
Yeah, the Rays Hines portion.
I don't believe so, but I see Rob's coming up to answer that.
Morning, County Commissioners. Rob Gertis, City Administrator. Before I answer the question on the transfer, I just have to say, watching your County Administrator, Barry Burton, his passion for Pinellas County and fighting for your best interest during this whole process was really something to behold, and I hope you're proud of him. And Mr. Kroll and Mr. Lee have just been tremendous to work with and have done tremendous work. So related to your question specifically, they can, in our agreement, they can transfer to a Rays affiliate or a Hines affiliate without City Council approval. If they wanted to sell their interests in the redevelopment to an outside party, it would require vetting and approval by our City Council.
Commissioner Scott. Oh, I'm sorry.
I would just add that part of the project from a professional sports team aspect, I'm not going to speak specifically to the Rays because I'm not privy to their exact documents, but controlling your front door is very important. So that means the entire project. The balancing the economics of running a professional sports franchise in a new stadium plus the development around it adds to the overall economic benefit to them. The Rays obviously are going to be taking on significant leverage for the stadium. Part of the benefit of having the access to the development agreements that they do with Hines is to afford them the ability to actually invest in the stadium as well. So those two run very closely together. And so to think that they might divorce themselves from the real estate development so quickly without it actually proving out might be shortchanging them in terms of what they think the benefit would be. So I think over the course of 30 years, we would obviously think that there might be changes in ownership on both team and on the development. To have it happen so quickly seems unlikely, but as the city had mentioned, there is that ability, but seems unlikely to me.
So theoretically, might have been exaggeration that.
No, I understand.
A day after, but a couple years down the road,
right,
they could start doing that.
I mean, they certainly can, but again, I think the economic incentive for them is to stay in that process because the business arrangements will afford them the ability to both to pay back their loans, right, and to reap benefits of being in the community. This is the modern sports stadia development happens with related real estate around it. The two are very interconnected, and so it wouldn't shock me that it wouldn't happen at some point, but it seems unlikely in the early going.
And Commissioner, I can elaborate on that a little bit too, if you don't mind. Both David and I represent local government entities, leagues, teams, and major sports ownership groups. I think that it's most common to find ownership groups that they're seeking to control contiguous property around the venue. And one of the statements that we've heard is not just controlling your front door, but allowing other developers and other third parties to make money off of the asset that they own, which is the team. And so I think that this is going to afford the team an opportunity to build and extend revenue, enhancing properties beyond the stadium. Sponsorships could be created and sponsorship revenues could be realized outside the stadium. These things could be connected. There could be a synergy. It seems very unlikely that they would want to decouple that quickly. The other thing too, as a real estate lawyer and a former real estate developer, you want to seek the benefit of the asset that you create. Selling raw land, you're going to get a fair market value for that land, and you might even get some enhancement because the stadium's there, but you're not going to seek the same level of benefit as you are if you build that asset, and that asset can begin to perform. That's where you're going to maximize your revenue streams. And so I think it is very likely that this structure is something that would keep these two intact for a period of time.
The Rays are one of the best run franchises, not just in baseball, but all the sports. They have the best baseball minds in baseball, best front office by far. And that's why teams continue to steal people from our front office. But is there a way, and I'm all for capitalism, so I want to preface that, but it's different when you inject public money into something. Is there a way to quantify the value of the redevelopment piece? And that may be kind of impossible to put a value on that.
I mean, since we're not privy to their business development agreement with Hines interests, it would be hard to take a cumulative value or even a present value of what that development is going to be. Of course, again, as Mr. Caper answered one of the earlier questions, all of the development is speculative, right, at the moment, as to timing. There are certain minimum requirements, but none of us can predict the value of real estate development over a 30-year period, much less even 5-year period. So it's hard for us to estimate what that value would be. I haven't been asked to take pencil to paper on that at all. I mean, I'm a specialist in the sports stadia world. It's hard for me to to give you an answer to that question. And I think it would be better maybe to ask that of the baseball team, but I have not been a part of those discussions.
So currently Forbes values the franchise around $1.3 billion. Does this deal with the stadium and the redevelopment piece added into it, does that make the team worth like $1 billion more?
I would hope.
that,
I don't know what that number is, but I would absolutely hope so. The synergies that Greg mentioned should be significant, right? Just even think about the fact that if you have a sponsorship agreement in your stadium, if that sponsorship can extend to medical office, to wayfinding, to other opportunities, I think it should add value to the overall business model for the team. The team itself will always be valued on the team and their ability to make money in their building. It's not going to be valued based on all of the property around it. So Forbes doesn't do those models based on surrounding real estate. Much like if you valued the New England Patriots, I think it's a really good one because they have a lot of development around Patriot Place. They don't value the real estate around that. They only value what the team's value would be as a standalone entity.
from your experience?
Separate entities too.
And, oh, I'm sorry.
No, they're separate entities as
Yeah,
well. I
separate
think
business entities, right.
the ancillary real estate would be a separate entity than a team co-entity, so, yeah.
From your experience, from all the deals that you've done, your decades in this industry, 6 months from now, or a year from now, after these are approved, assuming they're approved, could the current owner go into the open market and get $3 billion for the raise?
And monetize the
Right.
value of these contracts.
Right.
It's not prohibited. It would have to, and I'll leave it to the county attorneys to describe that, but Major League Baseball, then NFL, NBA, NHL, Major League Soccer, I have not seen any of them prohibit the transfer of ownership of teams at any point, no matter what the public investment is. There's a couple of good reasons for that. It has mostly deals with the transference of an asset generationally, when you've got an owner that needs to sell because either there's been a change in their physical status, health-wise, or transferring to the next generation. So the league doesn't want to be in a position to have to enforce or hold back something that's going to be good for the team and for the league itself. So no, there's no restrictions for them doing that. Would it, during construction, I think it would be bad form to do that, but we can't restrict them from doing so. However, there are some guardrails. The league has to approve that owner, right? Whether it's a limited partnership stake or it's a limited partnership stake which ascends to control, or it's just an outright control interest in it. The league has to approve it. They have to step into all of the business agreements that the city and the county have agreed to with them. And then there's the situation is that owner a good actor, right? And so they'd be vetted quite specifically for, are they good for Major League Baseball? But we don't get, as a county body or a city body, to get to say, we don't approve, right, of them.
But from your experience, could he
Yeah.
could he monetize those contracts that much? Or from your past experience, would that be?
My experience is that the growth and the value of sports franchises in the current market, let's say the last 10 years, will far outweigh the growth and the monetization of the assets around it or the new stadium, meaning that the values have been exceeding at a breakneck pace. This is not because of development generally. I'm speaking generally in the sports industry. It's not because of just the development. It's because of the amount of capital chasing sports franchises around the globe. So we've had an increase in foreign investment in sports. We've had an increase in private equity investment in sports. The NFL still sort of on the verge of allowing private equity. So when you have a lot of capital chasing 120 or 130 professional sports teams in North America, values go up. Will it get a bump because of the stadium program? Yeah, you would think so, right? This is a mid-market team playing in a stadium that is, and I'm not saying this, I actually like going to games at the Trop. It's it's in the lower tier of all stadiums in Major League Baseball, primarily because of its age, not much other reason. But if you look at public data, it lands in the bottom quartile. So of course, the value of that franchise should go up. However, when you look at valuations, you have to look at the capitalization of that franchise, debt and equity, called enterprise value of the franchise. They're going to be taking on a significant amount of debt as well. So not all of it transfers to equity, it transfers to debt and equity. And so when we look at a $1.3 billion project, their interest in the stadium, their interest in the team, yes, it will go up. A lot of it goes up because they're investing in that building. So it's hard to say that they would just be putting, if there was a transfer of ownership, they'd be monetizing the value of the stadium. Quite frankly, I think if I don't know what the Forbes value is or Sportico's value is right now for the Rays. I'll take your word for it that it was $1.3 billion. I haven't looked at that recently. My suspicion is that any Major League Baseball put on the to sell control would be a greater number than that anyway right now. And it's primarily because so many people are looking to invest in professional sports.
I have more questions, but I'll let my colleagues.
Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. During Mr. Caper's presentation, he mentioned something about a supplemental bond resolution. Can you explain that?
If you don't mind, let me, in fact, we kind of moved off of the agreements and the documents that you're being asked to approve on Tuesday, one of which is that tourist development bond, revenue bond resolution. That is, I keep referring to it as the master bond resolution because that's kind of the starting gun. That's the starting point at which our process for issuing bonds, and when I say our process, I mean the county process. There are two separate tracks of processes, and obviously at least I'm primarily concerned with the county processes. The city will also be issuing bonds, and their processes are not identical but similar. So these will translate largely over to that as well. So Tuesday, you'll be asked to approve a master bond resolution, which will broadly outline the bond financing process. Now, there's a lot of details that will be brought to you later in a supplemental bond resolution. There will be a second resolution that comes back with much greater detail, refinements on numbers, refinements on interest rates and payment schedules, and all that kind of, those kinds of details will be in the supplemental bond resolution. And that I believe is a similar process with the city that Brian was talking about. Along with that, while I'm taking the time to speak to you, will also be coming a construction funds trust agreement that will deal with setting up that professional trustee over that construction funds trust and explain how payments go in and out of that, or mostly out of that, for the purposes. The development funding agreement, by the way, talks about how the money goes in. The construction funds trust agreement are instructions to the trustee essentially on how to pay the money back out. Those will include provisions that say essentially on any invoice that comes in after these, there's an initial catch-up provision, but after those initial, when it all gets to, as your equity goes, payments out, the raised money has to be there before any money from the city or county sub-accounts within that construction fund trust agreement can be paid out. So anyway, that's a lot more than you'd asked for, but I wanted to take the moment to kind of backfill something that we'd skipped over a little bit. Anyway, does that answer your question?
Well, sort of. So the supplemental bond, it's not a second bond issue, right?
No, sir.
Okay, so.
Yeah, and I think to answer your question, sorry, Commissioner, you have a secondary bond issue, correct? But it's only on the city side.
So Vice Chair, we have, as part of the $130 million the city will be providing for the infrastructure, for everything excluding the stadium, we will be issuing that in 4 phases. So the first phase is $40 million that will be issued later this year. The second will be for the Phase B portion of the infrastructure. That will be issued in 2028. That's another $40 million. Phase C will be issued in 2032 for $20 million, and then our last bond issuance will be in 2035 to support the Phase D infrastructure, and that will be for the remaining $30 million.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
I
just want to make sure that the county's,
No.
312.5 is that.
We're done. We have one bond issue.
Okay.
The rest
All right, good.
are on the city.
Okay.
Yeah, if I could add one thing, the net bond revenues that will go into the escrow account into the construction funds trust is the 312.5. But the master bond resolution, one other thing that will allow us to do is go forward with a bond validation process, which allows us to get the blessing through that process to say, this is all good, this is all legal. And that's even a condition precedent for us going out into the market to sell our one bond issue, so.
And the bond resolution that we're going to pass doesn't require us to do the 312.5 if we wanted to put cash down, right? So that's just up to that amount?
Yeah, oh, yes, it's an overly inclusive number, includes all costs of issuance and everything else. Well, again, that's part of the refinement. It's a not to exceed, if you will, that will be refined further within, again, cost of issuance and process and those
That'll be a
kinds of-
discussion we need to have, you know, if this goes forward, that how much do we want to put down in cash, how much we want to bond, and looking at all the other TDC projects, so.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Of course, we want the best interest rate we can possibly get on our bonds. Question, this may be a question for you, Don. I cannot remember when the original stadium was constructed and the Sports Authority was a component of that, whether or not they purchased the underlying lands that went along with that property or just the property. Do you know?
That was in the 90s, Commissioner. That was before my time. As I understand it, the city owned all of that at that point, and the authority was set up to build the facility. I see. Oh, okay. And there may be others here that have better historical knowledge on that than I do, but I apologize. I simply don't know the answer to your question.
I don't know who, but can someone look that up? And here's why I'm saying that. Because when I served on city council, we had a big project going on with the airport, and we found out later it was a resident, Miss Emily, Mayor, I think you remember Miss Emily. Miss Emily was someone who came and paid very close attention. She purchased bonds for the land that the airport was constructed on. And she kept saying that there was an issue with the underlying lands, that had not actually been purchased, only the top land. And lo and behold, she was accurate. And so that hindered our ability to extend runways. I know that has nothing to do with here today, but it had a lot to do with what we could and could not do with the extension and expansion of the airport, which that didn't happen because of that. And then we later sold those underlying land bonds to USF. USF did the expansion of the business school, et cetera. I just don't want something like that to come up when we're looking at finalizing any plots, lots, or whatever. And I know that you all looked at, you know, making sure the verbiage in what we're dealing with now read exactly right, so that the description of the property was exact. So if somebody could just make sure that there are no...
There is some data we have on that, and now I won't profess to have gone through it in great detail, but the Hines Rays Group did do a title search on the property out there and went back and looked at the chain of title. Now, the county took title from the city, and I'm sure they're very much invested in making sure that they don't run into the kinds of problems that you're talking about. So
That's just history, you know, and,
Yes,
and
I
wanting
hear
to
you.
avoid.
But again, based on where their interests lie, I would expect that title search was vigorously done to make sure that when they take title down on these and make the investments they're going to make, that they're not going to run into something like that.
Yeah, that's accurate, Commissioner. There was a title search done. There's no issues with the title that we're aware of.
Okay, Commissioner Scott.
Just quick, I've got a summary of the TROP funding history that I'll email to all of us. It doesn't really get into the land specific, but at least the funding history might prove interesting, so I'll send that to all of us.
Commissioner Eggers.
All right, well, the mayor made a comment when he was speaking that we've been brought along the whole way. And that's partially true in that we have communication with Barry all the time about different things, but the degree to which we're talking about today and discussing with each other hasn't been off and on for the last 2 years or whatever. So this is a great opportunity. I told Barry that, you know, if I felt rushed today for this vote on Tuesday, I'm a no. I don't want to be rushed. I don't think we need to be rushed. This is our time to make sure that we're clear on what the ramifications of the stadium deal are, how they're interacting with the development deal. Even though we don't sign documents, the whole deal is contingent one on the other. And I think that was raised earlier today as well. So I really appreciated your comments about the ownership and how it can move. To get a sense of what their development potential would be to say, hey, I want you to pay another $287 million to take the city's debt away, or give us 5% interest in the ownership of the ownership group to find out what the value for them really is. That's nothing we're going to find out. I can guarantee you that it is good. They will do very well on this deal. And I'm okay with that, to your point about capitalism and all of that. But when you do get tax dollars involved, and again, every deal is unique. Atlanta's unique, LA was unique, and that was a different animal altogether. But that wasn't the owners paying for the whole stadium, period. But they got a lot bigger development rights as well. So I get that. Anyway, so for me, again, a revisit just a little bit. We don't have to do it today, but again, is looking back at that discussion we had with the TDC on beach renourishment and all other requirements and what's left over for stadium, and then how does that leave us? How vulnerable does that leave us in the event of something that's not normal from a beach renourishment standpoint? I'm talking about storm generated or emergencies that come up. Want to make sure that piece is crystal clear, that we're not on the edge, we're not close. The other piece Commissioner Flowers brought up, that was interesting comments about, again, I was thinking about it a little differently, that we're all in with our investment, but when they come back for affordable housing funding, shortfall or gap funding, that may be more money. That's more penny money that may be on the table. And I don't want the risk of penny being renewed for the next 10 years to be on the table with this kind of that potential. I mean, we said this was our cap on the investment of that, and yet there could be ramifications that come out of those development deals that make more requirements. So that's a little bit of a concern for me as well. So I think the part that I don't understand. I mean, I can see the numbers, but the area that, to your point about selling the properties later, in my mind, again, I'm not an appraiser. The appraised value of the property was $287 million. That's a big number, but in some circles, they say that was even undervalued. Don't know about that. But as the page that goes through all of the deducts on that gets it down to whatever that $100 million is huge. There's a marked drop in that. Again, I'm not saying what that appraised value should start at, but if 287 is the number, it could be higher, it could be lower. That's a lot of money off the table, and that is transferred to potential buyers over time, because this is potentially an undervalued piece of dirt right now that, as time goes on, the commitment to that dirt price is the same one it is today. In 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, whenever they take that dirt down, that deal becomes even more attractive as they look to sell their interests to anybody. So for me, that understanding that piece and how they justify that reduction is of interest as well. There are a lot of positives, and the mayor went through the benefits to the community, the benefits, the past promises, all of that. It does matter. I've tried to stay out of the trees on the agreements and leave those to the attorneys, and making sure that they're taking care of us, and trying to stay the forest for the trees so that we can kind of look at the bigger, more important policy issues that we're being called to talk about. So for me, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. I'm not saying that people haven't answered them. For me, maybe they're just not, I won't get comfortable with it. But I'm not necessarily very excited about a vote on Tuesday. So if that's, again, that's something that we'll have to talk here today before we finish up, because that's the kind of direction that I guess you're going to need, right? But anyway, those are just some comments, and I may have a few more later. Thank you.
I'm going to circle back to Commissioner Latvala. He said he had a lot more questions.
Thank you. So I asked the question one way. Now I'll ask the question the other way. Can the Rays keep their interest in the developments part of the deal if they sell the team?
Transfers are exciting, right? Article 19 in the operating agreement and thoroughly covered in the redevelopment agreement as well. So could you restate that one more time for me, Commissioner?
If the current owners of the owners of the Rays sell, could they sell the development part of the agreement, their interest, and still maintain ownership of the Tampa Bay?
I think that legally that's possible. You know, Mr. Abrams talked about, what is likely. You would think that if someone is going to purchase the team, they're going to purchase the development rights too. I mean, that's what would make the most sense for somebody to profit from. But if they were able to structure something where they could sever off the team and they could continue a partnership with Hines, that would technically be possible.
Okay. And part of what, and I probably didn't answer the question as well as I should have, part of what the economics look like is that over time, when they take down parcels, there's value in that development. For whatever you believe is the just value for the property and what they're going to build on it, their value gets created over time in those phases, right? They're set up so they can manage the economic vagaries that we are all might be exposed to, but I would think that they should want to develop as quickly as possible because the economics improve for them the longer that the more quickly they're able to do that and the longer they're able to be in those projects. And so the fact that they might sever the relationship between the development part and the team, to me seems unlikely for the simple reason is that they actually do better as they start taking down development, right? So there's more value created when they do that. And again, we can only speculate as to how quickly that will happen, but I think that's an important point to note.
So we've talked a little bit about the affordable housing parts, and my understanding is that they can come to the county and ask for subsidies on each of those projects. If the county says no, we did what we said we're going to do. We're not doing anything more.
We have no.
What happens then?
Well, you have no obligation.
Okay.
For if they came for penny funds, there's nothing in this agreement says that we are obligated to approve anything. But I'll let Rob speak.
No, I would agree with that. What the document says is that the city is willing to subsidize the affordable housing in the same manner that we would subsidize similar deals with similar financing structures. So what we would do is we would look at their proposal and their pro forma. We would look at the type of tax credits they're using, how they're funding that affordable housing. We'd look at what we've done with other developments, and we would try and match that up. There could be a request to the county. It would be unlikely that it would be for penny because typically penny is land ownership, and we're not going to get into that in a situation like this. So it would probably be SHIP dollars, state dollars, something like that. But the county would have every right to say no, and it's beholden on the city to work with our federal funding sources and our local funding sources to make that development work or not. And if we can't match up with them, on the subsidy, then we continue to have ownership of the property, and we could do something separately with that. They can't take the property and then build market rate housing. We're protected from that in the agreement.
Okay. So my last questions are all about our TDT funds, our portion that we're going to be donating. So if we finance it over 30 years, the $312 million then becomes $615 million. Is that correct?
Depending upon the interest rate. You've probably done the math. I haven't done that math.
Well, what we were given at the TDC meeting was
okay.
like, I believe 20 million, a
Correct.
little over 20 million a year for
Cor-
30 years.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Would it be possible, and I asked this question the other day, if we did like 30 million a year for 10 years to come out to, or a little over 30 million a year for 10 years to come out to our 312 million?
How we want to structure our bonds is completely within the authority.
I mean to cover the 312 million.
Sure. How we set up our bonds to make that contribution, and absent, Greg telling me, or Don telling me something different, I see a look in his eyes. I mean, we haven't got to the bond issue. We always set it up on that 30-year period. And that's how we've done our projections. What you're asking is, could we do something earlier? Well, I'm going to defer to Don on that, but there is provisions to where we can pay it off earlier too. And I think that may be a more likely scenario, because then it preserves what happens, like you said, if we have a lot of storms or something over a 10-year period. It's all.
I just interject. I'm not your municipal advisor, so.
We have bond counsel, but I don't have them here.
How you structure the debt is purely up to your professionals on that side. I would tell you from when built, you've got 3 components that are entering into this agreement to build this project. Should the county decide that, well, for its 312.5, that it would do 10 years divided by, 312 divided by 10, 30-odd million, 31,200,000 per year, then it likely would influence the rating on the city's bonds, because there's no guarantee that some future commission wouldn't decide not to make that contribution. So,
if we issue the bonds,
well, if you're not issuing the bonds, I'm talking about you commit to just put in that money each year for 10 years. So if you did a pay-as-you-go, right?
I don't think you're asking to pay as you go, are you?
I'm saying we're going to give you 312 million.
I see.
But we don't want to finance it.
Right.
We want to spread
Just
it out
spread it out over 10 years.
And
so
10 years.
what I was
20
getting
years.
at is that the city will issue bonds predicated on all the funds being there. They won't be there if you were to choose to do as a pay-go. Also, the team's financings are predicated on the lender saying, well, we know the project's going to get completed, right? So their lender would have issue with that as well. And the 30 million per year, the construction happens over 30 months, not over 10 years. So how do you bridge the gap to complete the project? The fact that you need it over a 30 or 35-month period, and you don't have all that money until, years 7 through 10, right? You only have a third of it.
The agreement has our 312 million going into
Construction
the construction
funds.
fund trust agreement onto that account to be able to complete construction.
And I assume it would be a non-starter to ask the team to do the financing.
That would be completely redoing the deal.
Because my concern with doing a large portion upfront to bring the financing down is the uncertainty with beach nourishment. And especially in the event that the storm comes the next few years and we have to dish out another 40 or 50 million.
Well, this is 727 week or day, whatever Brian's calling it, and I think it really is time to thank our residents for hosting our visitors, because we have seen, and you have seen, our tourism development tax, our bed tax dollars be at record levels. And as a result, in that fund, which again is restricted, we can't use that to, give to the sheriff. We can't use that to fund roads and bridges, but we can use that for tourism-related events. We have record tourism dollars. We have record reserves in those dollars. And you've seen through our joint TDC meeting those amounts. So that is a discussion we need to have about how much do we put down in cash versus issuing bonds. When we did the model, we said if we do all of the beach nourishment on our own, we had more than enough money to be able to do that and still fund up all of our capital obligations and have money for unpredictable, storms. Now, the hard answer to that is, is that one hurricane or 5 hurricanes in 5 years that's an impossible thing to answer, but we do have sufficient reserves to be able to address that. Now, when we funded up the full funding for the beach nourishment in our nourishment account, we didn't even consider state dollars, which we know will come, just as they did with that. So even if we're unable to resolve the issue with the Corps of Engineers, we still will have other funding sources through grants through the state that we didn't even account for in that model. So I think from a staff standpoint, we feel very good, and we can revisit that model, and I can bring that on Tuesday to talk through that. We feel very good that we have sufficient funds, and we're not putting our beaches. I started out with saying we understand the commission's priority. Priority are our beaches, and with this deal, we don't feel as though we're putting that beach nourishment and the protection of our beaches and our residents and that tourism at risk.
Commissioner, I've done a lot of tourism-related sports transactions. This transaction that the county's contemplating, should it be approved, is strictly on the back of TDT monies. The rating agencies which look at these transactions will require a couple of things. One is that you can't borrow into the future, meaning you're not allowed to borrow projected revenues, right? You're borrowing on a historical basis for the most part. So you're not borrowing against growth. Number two is that there'll be debt service coverage, meaning that you can't borrow up to 100% of your collections. You can only borrow up to, it's usually a 1.25 to 1.5 times debt service coverage, meaning that if you have $100 of revenues, you can only, your debt service can't exceed more than $75 or $65. And then number three is there'll be reserve funds. So there'll be guardrails and protections in there that you're not overextending those revenues such that should other things come up, and they will over 30 years for sure, that you've got ample cash flow to both pay off your debt and then and deal with other unforeseen circumstances, which is exactly what the bond investment community wants you to do. Make sure that you're not overextending yourself. And I think you and I have talked about this in the past, that I've worked in Florida for most of my career and have done a lot of sports facilities using tourist development dollars. I'm not saying that the past is any indicator of the future, but I lived through Hurricane Andrew and did a sports financing in February or March of 1993, right after Hurricane Andrew in Miami-Dade County for their tennis facility. The tourism-related revenues bounced back greater than they ever were after that. Number one, there was a construction boom after that. I'm not saying that always happens, but there's a lot of economic activity that happens to rebuild. I'm certain we've seen that here on the Gulf Coast as well. There's other things that have caused major hits to the tourism-related revenues, like 9/11, like COVID, other medical issues, downturns in the economy. You see this dip in the tourism-related dollars, and then they come back and they grow even greater. No one borrows against assumes that the revenues grow in an even upward slope. It's always a bit jagged, right? They go up, they go down, they go up and go down. We're dealing with unprecedented growth right now in tourism in all over the country, including here in Pinellas County. It would be imprudent to borrow against that, expecting that growth will continue for 30 years, right? So these guardrails, which the city attorney, which your financial advisors, your administration will structure, will do it in in a responsible way that permits for those unforeseen circumstances to happen. And so every transaction that I've worked on in the state of Florida and in other places around the country, I can't say it's always perfect, right? But the amount of, the expectations of what growth is typically not dialed into the financing. The financing is done on a conservative level.
If I could just add a little bit more also, the tourist development tax there's various cents within there that have various nuances on how they can be used. The primary dollars that are being focused on, so at this point, with respect to the way this has been set up, is the 4th and 5th cent. Now, those are primarily to pay debt service on professional sports, the way that element of that is. Now, we're talking with our financial advisors and our bond counsel about, setting up cash in advance on that reserve fund. So, and when we say paying cash down, it's really structuring in part of how the debt service goes down. And I know I'm splitting hairs, but I want to be clear on managing expectation.
Well, it's kind of both, because we can do both. When we're looking at cash and reserve levels, you're really trying to drive down your interest rate to make it the most attractive to people that buy your bonds, right? But then we could also lower the amount that's actually in the borrowing. So, and that's the next discussion that we really need to have.
Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, Barry, I think we definitely, I think, need to see that presentation again, as far as just to refresh our memories on beach renourishment and how much we need and what we've got and how all this, we anticipate this could play out, just for our own comfort level, to make sure that, whether we have Army Corps help or we don't have Army Corps help, what all of that looks like. But getting to Commissioner Latval's point, I kind of backed into that TDC number of 20.3 million, and that works out to about 5.15% interest over 30 years. And using the Victus numbers, which I think are the most conservative numbers we've got out there, which I think is what I want to look at, if we financed all of it, we have a negative return on investment. But as we put more cash down and finance less, there's a good trajectory upward. So the least amount that we could finance, we would be far better off. So I don't know how much cash we'll be comfortable putting down, because I know we're going to have some bond reserves as well. But hopefully we don't have any prepayment penalty, and we can prepay this early if we wanted to do that.
There's provisions for that. And to your point, because you did the analysis you shared with me, you only do that if you meet the minimum development standards, right? It's the only time you're negative. If you are anywhere above the minimum development standards, it's all positive cash flow. From a tax standpoint.
Right. And one thing I think we also need to do is, one thing I don't believe we've done a good job yet is explaining to the residents how this new money is going to benefit them. Barry, you and I have talked about that a bit, but as I talk to people about this project, and they say, look, these are rich sports teams owners, they don't deserve the money. They shouldn't get the money because they should pay for it on their own. And fundamentally, I agree with that. The reality is a heck of a lot more complicated. But when I explain, the restricted use of TDC funds, in that we're going to get general fund back that will benefit them, they say, well, you're just not trying hard enough to use the TDC funds to our benefits. So, it's been a real challenge of just trying to explain that we really have very limited use for those TDC funds. But I think we have to articulate what we're going to do with those new funds and how they're actually going to benefit our residents in the future. That we can reduce level of service millage that we have right now going to road paving, okay? That affordable housing money right now that's coming off of Penny for Pinellas, that we can substitute that perhaps. And penny money can just go for infrastructure, what it was always intended to. Perhaps we don't have to charge entrance fees to Fort DeSoto, or parking fees at county parks, or fund lifeguards, or I just think we need to come up with a benefit package, for lack of a better way to put it, to say this is how we're going to spend some of those dollars that will benefit you. Because I don't think we've done a really good job of doing that up to this point. So.
You and I have discussed that, and it is very hard. I mean, if I talk to my neighbor, and they say, well, reduce your property tax, and I'm like, well, yeah, but the sheriff, just to keep the lights on, I mean, it's a people business, is $26 million next year. Just for him to pay his insurance and to pay, and to pay his deputies. And they say, we'll find it from somewhere else, right? And that would be a natural response. Having not gone through 6 days of grueling budget meetings and seeing departments come in and show you that they have performance metrics, that we've challenged them to do business differently, that we've challenged them to find efficiencies with the way we deliver service. And you got to see that in real time, and And so we've taken the challenge that you've put out to us to try to reduce our cost. But even with reducing our cost, we have unfunded mandates that we don't have any choice but to fund. And so those increase our cost. And the way to cover that is not on our taxpayers, but on new growth. And this is a great example of the largest new growth economic development project that the county's ever seen. And so while it doesn't put it into a specific fund because it's over the next 30 years and you can't buy in future boards, it gives you the opportunity to do what you're doing this year, which is to roll back that property tax rate. So everybody benefits. And so we're trying to do that, but it's a very hard story to tell. Hopefully through these meetings, people do begin to hear that message. But I, so to the extent I can do that, I'm all ears on how to reach people to be able to explain that. But we are trying our very best to be able to do that.
Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, thank you. I think Commissioner Scott raises a good point. And maybe what we can do a little bit on Tuesday or future meetings if we decide we need it, but is maybe talk a little bit about that minimum development. Because that, again, that's what we're actually going to derive from it, and how that translates. And the point that you brought up, it's new growth, it's new taxes. Yes. The beauty of the CRAs has always been, it's not that you just get that 5% bump or 10% bump in taxes. You're getting a whole new project that didn't have any tax at all. So there are distinct benefits to that in this project, and when it's tied to minimum development, at least we have an understanding of what that's going to look like. Again, to what Commissioner Scott said about being a little bit more conservative, I think it's helpful. The other thing is maybe between now and Tuesday, we can also find out a little bit about what that marginal tax or marginal interest rate is between the bond market and what, if we chose to, to do the bond market, we're making money with the millions of dollars we have in our bank account. So we're making money with that money. There's a spread, there's a gap of what I just like to understand that, and probably just, that we'll get into it more of down the road if we, we get there. But I just want to make sure that marginal rate, people keep saying, well, it's going to be a $600 million project for the county's $300 million. Well, not necessarily true, because we're getting money. If we choose to bond the whole thing, we got interest. We got a lot of cash in the bank making money. So it's not quite that cost. So I just want to make sure that we understand that. And I do agree with the commissioners about taking a look at that beach renourishment picture again. I think that's important. That's ultimately our responsibility. I'm not, again, I'm not going to just bank on the fact that our state brothers and sisters might not change what we're allowed to use TDT funds for in the years ahead. They probably would have done it already if they knew we were, thinking about using it for stadiums. But seriously, there could be a time. So I mean, again, we're not banking on that. But when you talk about Gulf Boulevard, you talk about areas where infrastructure is being really affected by tourism. If that ever changes, that's an opportunity. So though we have a narrow path right now, and that's what we have to go on. There is the possibility later of that. So, but I do think the beach renourishment, the minimum development, maybe coming up with some things of what does that mean? What does that translate to our residents is going to be important. And then an understanding, I would like to just see that going through the discussion about the land valuation from the appraised value down to, like almost a third of it. So not quite a third, but, So those are things that I'd like to just take a peek at again for me. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the development agreement that we received that we had our meeting about, for me, it's page 27. I don't know if you guys want to pull it out. It's development and funding agreement by and between City of St. Petersburg, Pinellas County, and Array Stadium. I know when I had my briefing with you guys, we talked about building to lead standards for building efficiency as much as possible. In this document on page 27, Section C, number 4, it talks about STADCO will implement the latest practices of sustainable design and construction that generally align with requirements of LEED certification and provide supporting documentation as to the practices employed. So am I reading that to say that they will not seek a LEED certification for resiliency on this building, but they will work towards things that will hopefully make the building run more efficiently?
Commissioner, that is correct. So they will incorporate as many applicable LEED standards as possible in the design of the stadium. They are not required to seek that actual LEED certification, although if they would like to, they certainly may. What we attempted to do was really balance LEED, which is focused on sustainability, with resiliency. So hardening the building, building to a risk category 3, building code standards, which would ensure it effectively translates to a category 4 hurricane rating. There are certain elements for sustainability that are very important, but may run contrary sometimes to that resiliency piece. So we were really trying to balance that, and because of that, did not want to have a firm commitment that it must be LEED Silver, although the Rays have agreed to, per the agreement, incorporate as many things as they can in order to get to that LEED Silver standard.
And on page 28, I guess this will be a question for our staff. So I fully agree with the statement in here as it relates to, excuse me, any of the cost change orders that will not be paid by the city. Do we have that similar language for our funding side?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just didn't see it. Maybe I missed it, but I just didn't see
all
it.
cost overruns are borne by the Rays.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of a backwards exception, is if the city asks for a change order, the county's not in a position to ask for change orders on them. That's the only exception to the Rays paying all the cost overruns, is a city-directed change order for which the city is responsible.
Okay. And then this is nothing that someone has to do, but for the public art piece, I know that through the county, we've taken on art as something that we pride ourselves on throughout. And in this language, the city, has its arts component piece within the city of St. Petersburg. And so I would ask, it doesn't have it in here, but I would ask if maybe the city would consider having a representative from the county to also serve on that arts committee, because it could be something that could be done internally within the stadium or externally. But it just would be nice, because we pride ourselves, like you guys do, on that as well. Excuse me. Thank you. Oh, he left. Thank you, Commissioner Scott, for his comment about whether or not we will utilize more cash than bonding. Typically, when you're paying back bonds early, they don't penalize you on that. That's a good thing, and it helps us with our credit rating for any future projects. But I just want to state, and please staff or commissioners who were here, tell me if I'm wrong, but the reason that penny money is used for housing is because the community actually came to the county and said, we would like to see some of this penny money be used for affordable housing. And there were some years, of course, with FAST and other organizations who also pitched it and talked about it. And as a result, you guys answered the call and even committed a certain financial level that would go towards affordable housing. So I just wanted to make sure that, not trying to go at my commissioner, but make sure that anybody listening or watching will understand that, yes, the penny was designated for housing and it's being used appropriately in that way. And those are the questions that I have so far.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, discussion? Okay. Well, this is a surprise. I didn't expect this to be done as early as it is. So
We're
I
not
guess,
done, though.
Pardon me? You got
There's
more to
more on
add?
the agenda.
Well, I know there's more on the
Yeah.
agenda. I just, I expected this discussion to go on
I would agree with you, Commissioner.
significantly longer, so, yes, Mayor.
If I could.
May I
close
make a
up.
few comments? as
Absolutely, you
close?
may make some
Does everyone-
comments.
Do you want to go, Barry?
Well, we have some homework to do. We have some information to collect, and, so, between now and Tuesday, we'll try to turn that information around as quickly as possible. But, this is obviously a long time coming. We've put a lot of information out. I do want to thank, the city, the mayor, the staff. Rob talked about that. It really has been a partnership between us with the Rays and our development team, so our county team has been phenomenal. You know the experience that they have. You're saying the sausage at the end, but every idea that we've seen in the public comment, because I read them all, we tried to think of, we tried to work through those, and we tried to negotiate the best deal possible. At the end of the day, that whether or not you subsidize a baseball team, is a big deal, right? And so, but that's a landscape that we're in. What we have is a deal that's probably in the middle or middle to low end of other new developments. And you're in a small market team. And so we tried to take into account all of that before we brought a package here, before you to have this type of discussion. But I want to thank everybody as part of this process. We'll turn the information around and get that back to you as soon as possible. If there's any questions that any commissioner has following up on this, any of us individually are available to engage with you. So I'll send out, the entire team's phone numbers where if you have a question for David, call David, and have that conversation directly. And so I'll make that available, and then, prior to, actually, we'll get that out to you today.
So it was made clear that we want to have another discussion on beach renourishment and some other issues, and so I'm not sure where that leaves us in the future. And Mayor, I know you want to talk, but there are definitely questions that need to be answered.
Correct.
So
I can turn that around quickly, and so we can revise that model that we discussed with the TDC, and I can send that out to you. We can discuss it on Tuesday. Again, if you're comfortable, great. If you're not, well then you're going to make that decision. So we'll try to answer the questions that you've raised. You had several, not just that one. Yes. But I'll turn that around and get that out to you today or tomorrow.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Barry, just to dovetail on what you said, has the commission received the Florida Tax Watch report?
Yes.
I think that would be instructive, and it does show we're right in the middle in terms of funding. But I just wanted to thank the commission for your due diligence. I was trying to remember with Brian, we've been through 4 committees of the whole with the city council. And there is a big difference, Commissioner Eggers, from when we were here in December with the concept and the detailed agreements you have now. So I absolutely agree with that. But I enjoyed the conversation. I thought I'd get through a commission meeting without hearing about Fort DeSoto entrance fees again. So thank you, Commissioner Scott, for that, still being alive. But just a couple of points, and if there are any questions that we can answer in the interim, we're certainly open. But I wanted to touch just on a couple. The price of the dirt, and I think we talked about this briefly, Commissioner Eggers, and Commissioner Flowers knows this well. That was the historic gas plant community. And when those residents, almost 1,000 residents, were asked to be displaced in businesses and houses of worship as well, the promise that is documented was that there'd be economic inclusion and jobs. And so it was never my focus going in to sell the land for the highest and best use, for the highest price, which would be all, luxury condos. It wouldn't be office space that generates jobs. It wouldn't be affordable housing. So that's a big part of the reason that we didn't sell the land for more. And the sales price that we have is higher than any offer to us in this RFP or the previous RFP under the Kreisman administration. That's because we're limiting the use of that land. Another question I can answer quickly that I checked with staff was on the CRA projects. Commissioner Flowers, you asked that question. No projects are being displaced in our plan. I just wanted to give you that information. We can add the county rep to the Arts Committee as well. And I think that's all I noted for now, but if there are any other questions, we are available. We thank you for, number one, I kind of hear consensus on the bed tax portion, and that's the lion's share And I just want to thank you all for that commitment because it can't happen without that. And we thank you for the partnership going forward and look forward to the next steps. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Flowers.
Real quick, Mayor, and you heard as well as I did from a number of individuals who were concerned about the ability to pay lease rates or rental rates for some of the office space that's going to be made available as a result of the additional construction portion. And I know there was some talk about, because quite frankly, almost $160 a square foot, and we have some people, even along Central Avenue corridor, unfortunately, who've closed their businesses because of the boom. The rents have increased and they can no longer afford to pay rents there. So maybe if we could have some information, if they have any, related to those units, those business storefronts, and what we're looking at per square foot for rental, because one of the things I would like to make sure is we're bringing back economic development, but we've got to make sure that those businesses can actually afford to pay the rent to be there. And that was a large conversation even before we really dug into the meat of the construction and development of this entire project. So maybe we could get some information back on that. I know numbers fluctuate, change, and all of that, but
We'll get you that information. Affordable retail space is a part of what Hines is looking at on the other 60 acres.
Okay.
But I also would love to get with you and talk about what we want to do along the corridors, the 16th Street corridor, MLK, and try to, have affordable space for, small businesses that are being moved out of downtown as those rates go up.
Darlena, set it up where you at. She's somewhere back there. Thank you.
Sure. So I just want to thank everybody that was involved. This was a huge undertaking. Don, I know you've done an outstanding job. The attorneys that we brought in outside have done an outstanding job, and you certainly educated me when I met with you. Love your experience and the history that you brought to it. Glad the city had to do the big part, and we just got the ancillary. But I just want to thank you all for all the work, especially Don. I know you've gone through this and made sure every I was dotted and every T was crossed, and I don't think we can thank you enough. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So do you want to, I think what we ought to do, I believe, is, nope. All right, then we're not going to do what I was thinking. I was thinking we would take 30 minutes for lunch, but there is no lunch here. So we do have several other things on the agenda. I have a feeling it's going to get loud in here, so if we just want to pause for 5 minutes so we let everybody get out, and then we'll resume. And once lunch gets here, we can take a break if we need to. So 5 minutes just to get cleared out, and we'll resume again around 11:58 noon. So we're going to move on to the fiscal year 2025 maximum millage rates for certification to the property appraiser by July 30th.
Thank you, Commissioners, for sticking around for that so that you could get to the real item you wanted to see today, which is maximum millages. I appreciate it. So up here on the screen, we do this every year about this time. We need the Commission to come to consensus about what we put on the trim notices. You'll see that maximum millages have traditionally been proposed as whatever the current year millage is, and we're proposing that again this year, even though the budget has items that are lower on those millage rates. We leave the cushion in because, as we say in the third bullet up there, they can be decreased after today, but they cannot be increased after today. So this is kind of a threshold to get us past that point. The next 3 pages are pages you've seen already. They show the county-wide millage rates, the special district millage rates, and the fire district millage rates, both what we are proposing as maximum millages and what is in the 25 budget, what the voting threshold is at the second budget hearing for each of those, and whether they're up or down. And with that, we can talk through each of them. We'll go back to the 4 county-wide rates: general fund, health, emergency medical, and planning, Pinellas Planning Council, Forward Pinellas. You can see there 2 of them are reduced, 2 of them stay the same. You see out of the special districts, all of them stay the same. We are not proposing up or down on any of them. And you'll see Seminole Special Rec District at the full $0.25 new rate. And then out of the 13 fire districts, 5 of them stay the same, 8 of them are reduced. And you can see the thresholds are mostly simple majority, with Tierra Verde being a 2/3. With that, I'll open it up to any questions you may have.
Any questions? Commissioner Scott.
Thanks, Chris. Just refresh my memory on the Seminole MSTU. Was it $0.25? Was that the max?
Yes, sir.
That was the max that we.
That's a maximum. That's what we've included. Obviously, you can set it lower if you wish.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And that was their request when they came to us back in May.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Just real quick, what was the maximum millage, I'm sorry, that you talked about on the?
For Seminole?
No, for us. What was, I didn't see that.
Sure.
The maximum millage is the current millage rate. So the max millage is the current millage rate. Obviously, the proposed, so when you set the maximum, you're just setting, we would keep that the same, but you can be lower. You just can't be greater than what you set as your maximum millage.
So all we're doing is setting maximum today.
Correct.
And that's the existing.
That's the existing.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Discussion? So I have a comment. I know that we like to do that with the cushion in and play it safe and put the maximum millage rate as a temporary millage. But, you know, when people get their trim notice, they automatically think that's the number, and they don't know the rule about how you can reduce it. And I personally feel very comfortable with the proposed millage rate. And I would like, when the trim notices go, that people get the real number that we're intending to vote on. And I understand how you want to have that cush, and you know you can lower it, but you can't go up. But I'm very comfortable with making a statement to our citizens about the commitment we made last year when we didn't roll back any of the millage rate and just go with the proposed millage to begin with. Knowing we can't go up, knowing there really isn't an intention really to go lower, but on the trim notice, they'll know exactly where we are. If they look at last year's notice or last year's bill, they'll see that the millage rate has been reduced. Versus when they get that trim notice, they go, oh my God, my taxes are going to be whatever they are, and then when the bill comes, it's their mind is already set. And so I know we can go to the max and lower it later, but I would like to make that statement and let the citizens know that we're just going with the proposed millage rate, let them know what our intention is, and not really worry about that cushion. I feel confident with that. So I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but that's just how I feel about it. Barry, go ahead.
Well, you have a few items that I think you want to discuss, and we've set those up for our August meetings. We have to decide how, what we're going to do with lifeguards. And lifeguards, okay, right? Correct. And you also have requests for increased funding for the sheriff's raises, okay? So if you set it at the maximum, then, I mean, if you set it at the proposed rate, then you're limiting your ability to find funding for those. That would have to come from somewhere.
Unless we took it from reserves.
Well,
I know recurring, we don't really want to do that.
Recurring, you can't, yeah, those are recurring costs, so that would create an imbalance within your budget structure. So I only set that as a caution that it's just going to make those discussions harder. I understand exactly what you said. I know this commission, and I know your intent is to live with that. We just haven't had those detailed discussions yet.
I've got Commissioner Latvella, then Commissioner Long. Go ahead.
So, thank you, Madam Chair. We talked about this last year, I believe. When it comes to lifeguards, and this is a question for our county attorney, when it comes to lifeguards, since they are servicing tourists, they're on the beach, we are using TDC funds to re-nurse the beach. Are we legally allowed to use TDC funds for lifeguards? And we can even have, Visit St. Pete Clearwater lifeguard stations, and signage and, information like that.
We can certainly take a look at that, because I want to make sure we get you the right answer. My gut instinct is that for the, like the hourly rates for the lifeguards, the payment for the people, most likely no. Some of the hard costs as far as infrastructure, like lifeguard stations and things, we probably could. I'd want to look into it. I know that one of the things I used to talk with Michael Zoss about a lot before he retired is we could put promotional, advertising, like we used to talk about like buses and things like that, and maybe make it, part of the cost, an allowable cost as far as characterizing it as promotional, materials, but we can take a look at that. But my guess would be probably no for the people, but maybe yes for the hard costs.
So Mr. Loack probably would not like this, but could we have a department under Visit St. Pete Clearwater for like safety personnel and have the lifeguards under his purview?
I think it's really going to be up to Barry where the lifeguards might land. I suspect they might be in the Parks Department, but I don't know. No, I mean as far as the department that would be, overseeing.
It's more of a structural issue. I think the question's a legal question. I mean, we can structure it, however the board wants to structure it, right? But yeah, they're currently under the Parks Department, okay? But that could change, right? If your direction was that. I just have to get a clear answer on what I can use the TDC funds for. I don't know the answer at this point.
Put a brochure in their hands.
Right. Visit St. Pete Clearwater brochure
to each
as their, out there.
We're happy to pursue that. That's a new thing. I haven't heard before. It's something we can certainly pursue. I just don't know the answer.
Give them some swag to hand out on the beach.
Give them a stress ball as they go by.
Are lifeguards used? Are they used primarily tourism season?
We have a lifeguard program that goes, I believe it's May through September, and so it's limited. It's not even during like spring break, and stuff. But as you've heard, we just have a really, really hard time attracting lifeguards, and especially out of Fort DeSoto because
so it's just summer. It's just a summer program.
It's just a summer program. Yeah.
But our drowning rate is going up, so.
What's that?
Our drowning rate is going up, maybe not at Fort DeSoto, but in Pinellas County. So was that it, Commissioner Latvella? Yes. So I'm going to go to Commissioner Long.
No, I forgot what I was going to ask. So sorry. I'll try to remember.
Okay, I'll come back to you then. Okay, Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I thought, first of all, that was a good creative idea about placing them somewhere where the funding could be used. But I have a question. When we were talking about lifeguards before, there was conversation about the difficulty in being able to hire lifeguards to cover the span of the beach. And if we, and if we're gonna provide the service, there's an expectation. And so if there should happen to unfortunately be an incident and we don't have a lifeguard on duty, how does that open us up to exposure? And so I can't remember if we finalized that conversation about.
I don't believe it does. I mean, you don't have lifeguards from St. Pete Beach all the way up to Clearwater Beach. You don't, except for Fort DeSoto, Sand Key Park, and Fred Howard.
And Clearwater Beach.
You know, and then Clearwater Beach. So
Yeah, that's why I said I couldn't remember where we landed with that conversation, but I know that was a part of it, about, you know, we didn't have, and unfortunately, you know, back in the day, we lived for summertime to be a lifeguard. That was our job, you know. And so now they have so many other opportunities, which is really wonderful, but it gave us fewer to choose from to actually.
But back in the day, you could be a lifeguard at 16. Now you can't.
And now you can't,
And we're looking at that. I know that was a question of the commissioners. I was going to bring, you know, both Lourdes and, I'm sorry, both Jill. I got the, Lourdes just had a heart attack. We just had, we're going to bring, you know, Paul Kazi and Jill back to have that type of discussion. And, you know, that's not as big a one as, you know, potentially other areas that want more funding. That's my only caution. I mean, obviously, if you do it, well, we'll just have to structure it that. I mean.
Okay, Commissioner Eggers.
No, I was ready to move forward with the maximum, but I like your idea. I think it's a good one. I think it holds our feet to the fire, and it's not just talk. It's, you know, we mean it this year. I'm not entirely saying that I think we just make the maximum the proposed and just leave it at that. I don't know what our intentions are after that. I mean, you know, we still have workshops to go through. So if we find other opportunities, that doesn't mean it can't go further down. But I'm just saying, I have no problem using the proposed millage as our maximum.
So Commissioner Latvala did propose that he wanted to do the sheriff's raise. Now, Barry, is the sheriff's salary increase 3% or is it 4.25?
It's 3%. Okay, that's what's currently there. But remember, the sheriff deputies have steps. Okay, and so that's a difference. And so our employees, it's 4.25. Okay. And that was on top of obviously their agreement that you provided for last year.
Okay, and Chris, I don't know what your intention was, but Chris, would you know if we added, instead of $3, it went to $4?
It's about $800,000 per quarter percent.
800,000 per quarter percent.
That's right. That's correct. Yes.
So it's real money, you know, and I'm not saying it's not deserving. Obviously there are, and you also asked us for salary information, several of you. So I was going to, we're working on getting comps of area police departments because all the agreements go up, you know, and so we're trying to get an update from when we had our discussion initially to be able to provide you that information. But we haven't had that discussion yet. That's my only concern.
Okay. Commissioner Long.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to point out in the discussion we're having about the county millage rate, you know, not to, I don't know what this is going to sound like, but it's the absolute truth. I've been on the general election ballot in Pinellas County every 2 or 4 years since 2002. And in that length of time, I have done an incredible amount of public speaking all over the county. And not once has anyone ever asked me a question about the millage rate. And I've asked it almost consistently every time I do public speaking. I'm always curious how many people out there understand or think about their millage rate. So I think instead of worrying about what the public perception is about millage, we ought to be focusing on what is the need, what is the absolute need that we have with a millage rate to continue our standard of service that we are delivering right now, knowing that we cannot certainly predict future events.
Commissioner Latvala.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. And I don't think that there is anybody that sits up here that is guided by public opinion or what, you know, the public thinks. But last year, as to what the chair said, last year we told the public that we were going to have a rollback this year, and that was one of the main reasons why we didn't have a rollback last year, was because we were going to have one this year. And last year was a unprecedented time when you add in inflation, when you add in unfunded mandates, and most importantly, when you add in what the sheriff was facing, with his deputies leaving at a alarming rate to go to other agencies because they were getting paid way more there. You know, in surrounding places like Largo, like St. Pete, and other counties and other cities. And so we, in last year's budget, gave him a very reasonable pay increase that has done wonders at the sheriff's office. But I think when we told our citizens last year, hey, this year the millage rate is going to stay the same, next year it's going to be lower, I think it's important that, you know, we stick to that. And so, you know, I'm not so concerned with what we set the maximum at today. I'm more concerned that in the fall when we come back that there's going to be a reduced millage.
Any other comments or thoughts? No? Okay, well then we'll move to agenda review.
Is there an action?
We do not need to take a vote. We just need to come to consensus on it. A head nod is good enough.
Oh, I thought that was happening Tuesday. My apologies.
So, no, this is it. We actually have to certify it on Tuesday, so that's why we're doing it today.
Okay.
We're going to vote on Tuesday.
We don't traditionally do a vote on the maximum millage rates.
You don't need an official vote, but we need consensus. Because
Okay.
we have to set those, and they have to publicize those.
Okay, so do we have consensus on, well, we have two thoughts out there, the proposed and the maximum. So we need to come to consensus on one of the two.
How about,
Commissioner Justice.
Yeah, to the commissioner's point, it doesn't matter as much today as what we do at the final. And if there's still projects hanging out there that commissioners want to bring forward during the process, if we put it at 4.7398 today, but instead of 4.5947, we end up doing 4.949 in order to squeeze a couple more dollars in order to fund commissioners' requests toward that we still haven't talked about, I think it gives us that flexibility with still providing a significant millage decrease.
Okay. Thoughts? Anybody else? Janet, you had something.
I agree with Commissioner Justice.
Okay, you agree with Commissioner, you're a maximum? Maximum?
I love your idea, but I'm okay.
Maximum.
I proposed, but I can see the vote. So.
You what? Say that again?
I proposed, but I can see I can hear what the consensus is here. I think we need to say do what we said we were going to do, and I like the proposed millage. I think that's.
We don't have to do that today, do we?
We don't have to, but I like what the chair's thought was. So.
Okay, and Commissioner Latvala? Are you at the maximum for the temporary?
Either is fine with me.
Okay, well, that's not an answer. Either doesn't work. Either doesn't work.
Thank you, from a staff standpoint.
The maximum today is fine, but I'm going to be more towards the proposed when it comes time.
Mike.
Okay, so it sounds to me like you're okay with the maximum for now, because we can lower it. Commissioner Eggers is with the proposed, I was with the proposed, you're with the maximum. So I think you have the majority you need on consensus that five of us are okay with the maximum. 2 of us would have preferred the proposed.
Watch it.
Well,
Does that work?
Yeah. Yes, that's absolutely fine. We need
That's what you
we have
need for your
consensus.
direction
We'll publish it at the maximum, knowing the commission's target. So That's the reason I'm restating it. If I'm hearing incorrectly, the consensus is that we we set the maximum millage as listed and wait for the budget discussions.
Yes.
You got 5 people that agree with
Okay,
that.
great. That's what we need.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Before commissioners get hangry, maybe we can move to the agenda.
Agenda review, yep.
All right. Okay, we have presentation, Purple Heart Day proclamation. Well, people here for that. You have items under the all the minutes and the different things that are reports for record. Item number 9 is surplus equipment, as we normally do. 10 and 11, receipt for file. Just speak up if you have a question. Item number 12 is an award of bid to Suncoast Development. This is for this is being paid for out of our American Rescue Plan, but it's for sidewalks, Americans with Disability Act, paving, all part of package number 2, $9.9 million. Item 13 is an award of bid to, let's see, to Kaminga and Roosevelt for American Rescue Plan for Starkey Facility number 10. This is a rebid, 2 submittals, $6.7 million came in below engineer's estimate.
Hey, Barry, I have a quick question on that.
Sure.
And I haven't looked at the OMB report on this yet, but is there a breakdown in there? I see 3 funding sources. Is there a breakdown of where the money's coming from, how much from each source? Somewhere? Is there? Okay, thanks.
Item 14 is a joint project agreement with the City of Largo. This is as part of their improvement project, and we have a portion of that, $429,000 for a relocation of a reclaimed water main. Item 15 is award of bid. This is the annual sanitary sewer extension repairs throughout the area, and so this is a 2-year agreement for a little over $10 million out of utilities. Item 16 is award of bid to Sherman Mechanical. This is for all of our HVAC stuff, and this is throughout all of our different facilities. 36 months, $7.4 million. It's primarily being used by utilities, though, and they fund their portion. Receipt and file for 18 and 19. To the regular agenda, item 20. This is what we just talked about with Ray's.
Barry, if I could just real briefly on that, and I apologize, this is just a procedural thing I wanted to let everybody know. During our one-on-ones, we talked about there were being minor changes being made to the legal descriptions and things like that. The documents have been uploaded into Granicus now, the final documents. So if you want any of the red lines tracked back or anything like that, let me know, or have any questions on that. But what I wanted to say is, due to the complexity, it's one of the other things we're going to be asking both on this item and then on the CRA item, is that as part of your motion that you also include the ability to make minor non-substantive changes within the documents before they're executed. The city has done that, and they found, an A to an N, and they're doing super minor cleanup stuff, but we just want to make sure we don't end up crossed up. So with that, thank you, Barry. Sorry to interrupt.
Question.
Yes.
And it's at this point, number 20, that we're going to have the additional dialogue?
Correct.
First?
Yes.
And then decide if we want to move forward on Tuesday with these documents?
Correct.
And then if we do that, then we'll obviously take up the CRA issue at 6.
That's correct.
If we go through all of that discussion, we think we just need more time, then this and the CRA will just be pushed back.
That's correct.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm clear. And that'll be decided on the fly on
Tuesday.
On Tuesday. Okay. All right.
Okay. Item 21 is an MSTU for Kiwanis Breakfast Club of Seminole for a family fun fishing trailer, $9,800. Item 22 is our annual $4.50 passenger facility charge at the airport. Item 23 is the First Amendment with Creative Contractors. This is a huge project, and this sets the guaranteed maximum price for the secure entry facility out at the sheriff's office. This project's back on budget, back on time, in large part due to our outsourced construction management services, and they've worked with our staff and done a good job of getting this project back in alignment with the sheriff and with our budget.
Quick question. Is this 100% Penny?
Chris, do you know the answer to that?
Is? Okay. And this completes the project? This is a maximum not to exceed?
Yeah, this sets the maximum. That's exactly what this does, is it sets a maximum price. They usually go to about 80% of design before they'll give you that maximum price. This is, again, kind of similar to a raise. We're going to a construction manager at risk process. I much prefer that, because then you get the design, then it's up to them to manage all the different subs, and change orders and everything else, and they're locked in. And so our protection and our interests are served. Okay. Item 24 is agreement with 6th Judicial Circuit. This is our drug court expansion program. It's a continuation and $454,000. Item 25 is our Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Grant Program. We get formula funds every year, and the area agencies have to agree on the structure and how they're going to use those funds. It's $270,000. Item 26 is an ad hoc naming rights committee recommendation for renaming the Pinellas Trail West Overpass as Albert Burt Valerie Overpass, the third overpass. As you are, I think, well aware, and we sent this to a Parks Committee per our naming policy to review. He was killed 17 years ago riding his bicycle, and his father, came back and really talked about that's what created our bicycle, our county bicycle trail advisory committee, and a lot of the safety improvements came out of that tragic accident. And so this was a naming request. It's been vetted through a subcommittee, and the recommendations here before you. Item 27 is awarded to Bandus Construction for the Dansville Community Park. This is being paid for out of American Rescue Plan funds. And similarly, these are two exciting. These are really two exciting projects. Award of bid to Erickson and the construction for the High Point Community Park, again being paid for out of American Rescue Plan funds. Item 29 is award of bid. Again, this is American Rescue Plan funds, and this is for the Whitney Road and Wolford Road intersection and roadway improvement. A little over $13 million. A lot of you were out on that project and addressing the neighbor concerns, and as a result of their engagement, I think the project's better, and so I'm glad we had that.
Is that 29, Barry, or 28?
29.
Okay,
I'm 29.
Okay.
Item 30 is resolution inclusion of our county beach erosion control program in the Florida Beach Management Funding Assistance Program. So it's a long-range plan. I don't know a lot about it, but I'm sure Jill can answer if you have questions. Item 31 is an agreement.
Barry, I do, just really quick, it does say in there that it's got the long key pass. Are we just putting money in there just in case we get the easements and the erosion control line is drawn? And so it's just, this is just to be prepared when Army Corps maybe says yes?
I'm assuming that's correct, but Jill's the expert.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jill Silverboard, County Admin. It's actually for either scenario. So if we get what we need from the Corps and we can move forward, we're still asking for the state money. If we have to do it on our own at some point in the future, we're still asking for the state money.
Okay. I was just reading it, was just wanted to confirm. Got it. Thank you.
Item 30s for traffic cobalt controllers. I was wondering if it was old-time programmers, but they said not. It's equipment, and they, so, hey, I remember that. $318,000. Item 32 is a maintenance agreement with the City of Pinellas Park for platted right-of-way. So this just makes that assignment. Item 33 is Safe Streets to Roads for funding. It's a grant application with U.S. Department of Transportation for our Pinellas Advanced Technology for Travel Information Project. So we're requesting $10 million. If we receive it, there's a county match of 2.5 that will be paid for out of our ATMS funds. Item 34 is our annual Lellman solid waste collection disposal non-ad valorem assessment roll, $20 per month. And then you see the subsequent years. Okay. Item 35 is the First Amendment to an agreement with Habitat for Humanity. So this makes minor modifications out in the Lellman area. The amendment will raise the maximum amount per property from 55 to 60 and increase the land acquisition incentive from 25,000 to 40,000, as well as increase the hard construction costs. And then it removes the 500,000 annual spending cap from the agreement. Tom can certainly speak to it in greater detail, but this is what we learned from Habitat coming in and doing their programs. It adds flexibility. It does kind of necessitate the agreement from them coming back. You have a $500,000 cap. Actually, we want to incentivize them to build more, you know, and so by eliminating that cap, it just keeps them within the program. They still have to have the approved funds and stuff, but it opens our program up to be more in line with what we've seen it takes to be able to build these units.
Under item number 36, I have passed around the file that has the information related to the confidential settlement that appears on your agenda. If any of you have any questions or would like to discuss this, I encourage you to contact me prior to Tuesday's meeting. I don't anticipate any reports on Tuesday. However, I would like to mention to you all now, you've had a pretty thorough discussion on some of the documents related to the raise proposal. Just for your information, after Tuesday's meeting, if you do approve everything, Don will be visiting each one of you with a certificate that will be related to your bond issuance that we will need each one of you to sign. That is a certificate as to public meetings and no conflict of interest that simply states that you approved it at a public meeting and do not have a conflict of interest. So we can get copies of the document to you if you'd like to see it in advance. It's short, it's one paragraph, but just FYI, that is a document that we'll be asking each one of you to sign should you approve those documents related to the raise, the funding of the Rays Stadium.
And on Tuesday, I will have to read 2 TEFRA hearing blurbs that are related to TEFRA hearings that you're going to hear on August the 13th, but because of notice, I'll need to read those, and that'll be my report for this week. From that, you've got several appointments. Appointments to the Lellman CRA, appointments to the North Greenwood CRA, appointments to Parks and Conservation Advisory Committee, and then County Commission new business. Moving on to the evening public hearings, you've got the 24-25 annual action plan for CDBG Home Investment Partnership and Emergency Solutions Grant Programs. You have this is what we briefed you on earlier through Tom and Kevin. Chapter 138, this makes modifications to, this is the second hearing that you've heard on the providing for the ADUs, accessory dwelling units, and flexibility there. So that's outlined within your packet. That's the second hearing. The second one, item 45, is the related to the ad valorem exemption for the qualifying living quarters for grandparent or for parents and grandparents, accessory that we previously discussed. And then finally, item 46 is the CRA related to the St. Pete CRA related to the development deal. And item 47 is an ordinance relating to the additional homestead exemption for persons 65 and older that Commissioner Justice raised, and you asked that we have look at it and put it on the agenda. And there it is. Correct. Oh, and you had to postpone something, but I forget what you were saying. Oh, item 47. Okay, I remember. I got it. We didn't notice it properly, so we need to put it on the next agenda. So it'll be delayed one meeting. Sorry.
Any questions, discussion? Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the one appointment to the Greenwood CRA, there was a little comment saying we were waiting on verification that that person was actually representing the organization they said they would. Have we gotten that yet?
That would
For
be
clarification.
downstairs. I don't know the answer. You handle the appointments.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Justice.
And I know this will take place during the time between now and Tuesday, but that CRA issue with the raise thing, you'll go through that with each commissioner between now and Tuesday?
I will.
Okay.
If you have time, I intend on calling each commissioner as a follow-up to here. I want to make sure I'm clear on what your expectations are for Tuesday, information you need, and then just have a discussion. So I know some of you are grabbing a plane ride and stuff, so I'll try to make it for tomorrow, or I'll text you, and you can tell me when you're available. How about that?
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, well, it looks like there's no other further discussion, so the meeting is adjourned. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.